Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Show me what you got. Oh,
Is that everything you got?
last turn.
Catch me if you can.
That was great.
That was a good game.
Unlock true experience with GT Omega.
Unleash the racer in you and feel the thrill of racing all out on the open road.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, and it's a very warm welcome to the GT Omega Twitch stream. We're back for yet another night of fun and frivolity here in Assetto Corsa Competizione. That's right, it's the GT Omega Challengers Cup. It's David Christie here with you tonight in the virtual commentary box, and joining me to change things up yet again, it's the man himself, Ewan O'Leary. Ewan, welcome aboard. You're in for an absolute treat tonight.
Yeah, hopefully we all are indeed here at Kyalami tonight. I really enjoyed last week's race at Monza. It was fantastic from start to finish. There were battles, especially up towards the front, really throughout that race. So hopefully we see something similar this time around. And yeah, ACC constantly delivers, really. So yeah, we are all in for a very good night of racing.
That's brilliant to have you on board. Just to remind you of what happened last week, Yazhi GTWR, they stole the show with George Boothby and Luke Whitehead running away with the race win. Second place went to BS+COMPETITION with Angus Fender behind the wheel and Gregor Schill. And the one thing, Ewan, that always caught my attention about this championship is given how many different ACC, how many high-profile ACC championships are going on right now, there is a big amount of big scale names in this championship.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked a little bit about this before the season got underway, but yeah, there's some real high class names in this field. I mean, you just said one of them there, George Boothby, is one of them certainly, who was driving well at the start of the Monza race last week. Angus Fender as well, of course, who I'm sure many people watching on will know as well. Just to name a few, and there are more up and down the field, and we might even see a couple of new names here on the grid this time around. because of a couple of new entries and so on and so forth. So yeah, it should be very, very exciting indeed to see these different names out there here tonight, and yeah, we'll see how they all get on. But expecting to see those top names, those recognisable faces, up towards the front of the field again.
Well, there is coffee in Decan because we are off to South Africa. We are off to Kyalami to be more specific for tonight's race. Tonight being race number 2 out of 8 this season. And as I said, Kyalami tonight. So we've got a 15-minute qualifying session coming up, a 90-minute race. Ewan, you are no stranger to doing ACC commentary and ACC broadcasts. So from your experience at a track like Kyalami, how important is qualifying?
How important is it going to be? I don't think it's going to be our most important on the calendar. But then again, what we did see in Monza was that those who did qualify up towards the front stayed there generally. We didn't really see anybody falling through the field like a stone. We didn't see anybody rising through the ranks very, very quickly despite the very close times. So it might end up being quite important, really, in the end, somewhat surprisingly. Because once you start battling in ACC GT3 cars, really just across the board, you start losing a lot of time, and then groups can form, and it can be difficult to kind of bridge gaps. And like what we saw towards the end of the Monza race, second and third, the guys in the BMW and the McLaren, Barneveld and Riley, were battling so hard towards the end of that race. It gave the leaders a 10-second gap and a 10-second win, which was not really representative of how the race actually went. So once you do see these cars start battling, they do fall behind quite quickly, and so it might turn out to be quite important.
Well, fingers crossed we'll be able to see. One of the other things, I wanted to get your take on was the car selection for the different teams here. Overwhelmingly, it seems to be the McLaren 720S GT3, as free practice has still got a couple of minutes left to go here. But the McLaren 720S GT3 seems to be the most popular car. Why do you think that is, apart from stating the obvious that is very, very fast?
Well, yeah, it is. It is clearly very, very quick. I don't really know. I can't really put my finger on why it's is the number one car. I mean, the times at Monza obviously did tell a bit of a story. I think at this point in practice we had about 5 or 6 in the top 6 of the standings. So even though it was only free practice, so it clearly is very quick. But that doesn't mean it's a really overpowering car, really, because we saw, obviously BMW finishing in second place in the end for BS competition. We saw a Porsche in fourth place. So, it's not like the McLaren is completely dominant compared to all of the others. But you've also got to think about it might not be the quickest, but also kind of quick across the board, as in it's going to be solid at all of the 8 circuits we go to in this season, rather than actually the best anywhere. It might just be really quite solid throughout the entirety of a season. That's what you really got to think about here. Yeah, it's not all about the first race at Monza, having the best straight line speed ever so you can make the moves and obviously go quick around there. It's about balancing it out throughout all of the 8 circuits we've got on the calendar this season. And the McLaren clearly is the one that these guys believe will be able to provide that for them.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on with that one. We're with George Boothby just now then, and just coming through barbecue just on his practice lap. Currently only 6 cars set in practice times right now, but you can see from the amount of cars connected, 17 different teams going to be taking part tonight. 3 minutes left to go in qualifying. Again, 1:40, that seems to be a fairly reasonable time, but I would imagine not so many of the drivers, not so many of the teams wanting to show their hands at such an early stage of the race. I've got to say a big shout out to the number 89 team. It's currently being driven by Gregor Schill. That is, of course, the BS+COMPETITION team that are out there as well. I was racing with them yesterday on a live stream, and I think we were all playing Wreckfest together. Niles Nyox was there, Gregor Schill was there, and quite a lot of the German sim racing community. And yeah, they need to up their Wreckfest game there. Ewan. How are you on the old Wreckfest?
I've never played it, actually. I've never
You
played it.
not? And
No,
I was
no.
reasonably late. It's actually it's very, very cathartic.
No, I have seen it. I have seen it, but I've never played it, so I couldn't tell you on that. But no, yeah, it's hopefully they'll have their real racing brain on now, because using some of the same moves might get frowned upon, maybe just a little bit. So yeah, but no, I've never dipped my toe in it. And yeah, it's just a bit of fun, isn't it? Afterwards, a bit more serious for them tonight.
It really is. The only reason I bring it up is because I'm dying to get the admins here on the GT Omega team to set up a night where we can all just batter them about. I think that would be quite enjoyable as well. But here's hoping it's not going to be a wreckfest here tonight at Kyalami. Certainly going up to Crowthorne, that turn one. And what we'll try and do with a minute to go is, as soon as we get into qualifying, we'll try and take you on board with a lap there. But interestingly, Gregor Schill up at the top of the timing screens here in free practice, Ewan. And again, it's nothing more than bragging rights at this stage, isn't it? It's just a case of, yeah, we're better than you.
Yes, it really is bragging rights at this stage. But as you said a little bit earlier on, how much are these guys willing to put in at this stage? You know, it's only free practice. Are they really willing to show their hand? Particularly, we saw some very spaced out times in the free practice at Monza, and then qualifying turned out to be extraordinarily close. Between all of these teams. So expecting something similar here, although Kyalami is one of those circuits where you can make a bit more of a difference a little bit easier. At Monza, it's kind of chicane, then straight, and then chicane. You know, there's not many places where you can make much of a difference, really, in qualifying. But this is a bit more of a technical circuit. Obviously, you've got the front straight, I suppose, but even that isn't quite straight. So it's quite a technical, quite a technical course. Lots of stopping and starting. A couple of high speed, medium kind of speed corners in there as well, which I'm a massive fan of. I think it's has a wonderful flow to it, this circuit, but it will mean the time gaps are going to be bigger between these guys here in qualifying compared to 1 week ago.
Well, unfortunately, Ewan, it looks like our little plan to get a Wreckfest night with the GTA Mega Boys has been vetoed. They've been quite vocal in the old Twitch chat in making sure that's not going to happen. So we'll try and twist our arm over the course of the broadcast. But as it stands, then free practice is over. Gregor Schill currently topping the timing screens there, as a little bit of a slip of the tongue there, because I was watching the screen and the 116 of Valentin Barrier straight up into second place there. So decent effort from the Jardier community car up into second place. Again, just free practice. So all you can do is get an idea of what the times might be like. I would expect to see by the end of the 15-minute qualifying session to see us down into the 1:39s. And again, Ewan, with it being such a momentum-based circuit, and I hate saying that because I say it every single broadcast, but you know, like you said with Monza last time, it's like stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. It's all about acceleration and getting your way out the corner. That's literally it. Whereas with Kyalami, it really, really is a challenging circuit, and there's a lot of corners where you can make up quite a lot of time over everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I think that the gaps here are going to be a little bit bigger than what we've seen so far in the past. There's something else that's different, actually, that I've noted compared to last week is the presence of the sun rising here at the moment. Free practice held at 5 in the morning, qualifying at 6. I think the race is going to be a little bit later, so it's not really going to be a problem in terms of the sun getting in these guys' eyes. But the track temperature is certainly going to be changing at this time in the morning. See the world is heating up, so the track is going to as well, and that might come into effect. It might just be. It'd be something you have to think about, because the tyre temperatures are very important. The tyre pressures that you use very important. If you get them wrong, then you're in for an hour and a half of misery, really. So they will have to be careful of that. But it does create a very nice lighting for us, doesn't it? These shots at the moment look very nice indeed early in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful as qualifying gets underway here. The early morning South African sun as it reaches over the veld and onto the track here. Great to see as well a little bit of support in the Twitch chat for the number 724 team of Writer Engineering Esports. That's the Porsche 911 of Maximilian Pradal and Tim Hott. So they've obviously got their fan club in with them this evening. Now, what normally happens, if you were here for Monza, you'll have seen exactly what happens. Normally, the first 7 to 8 minutes, the first half of the qualifying, is the drivers getting a safety lap in, what they call a banker lap in, one that's about maybe 95% of their actual pace, but it's still one that they can fall back on if everything else goes wrong during qualifying. They'll get that lap in, and then the final 7 8 minutes, they're then free and safe to absolutely throw caution to the wind and try and get a really, really good time here. Early predictions for pole position then. Just going to go and have a look. I'm just going to go and have a look here as Yan Gang from Liper Esports and the 112 comes through here. Um, Early prediction for pole position. I am going to go with the, let's see, the 89. I think that Gregor Schill might be able to put this on pole. I think he's got the pace. Very, very close last time out at Monza, but I think this track is actually going to potentially suit him.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I was actually going to go for them for BS competition, just before you said that. So I guess I'll go for the team that won last time out, Yassi and GWTR. I think I'll go for it instead. If you remember how close it was back at Monza, it was like something like 200ths of a second between the two of them. So surely it has to be one of those two once again. And yeah, I'd be expecting them to be expecting it to be one of those two up to us front. But you're absolutely right. The first few minutes here are going to be banker times really, and then it's really going to get down to it late on, as we saw a week ago. The times are going to tumble towards the end, and then we'll see who takes pole.
Certainly will. I think we're in the middle of watching a hot lap right now. This is certainly from earlier on. It's a pre-recorded lap that's going on. So it just rounds into the final corner then, and showing exactly how it's done across the start finish line then. So this is on the run down then through the kink, through the right hander, down into Crowthorne, into to turn one there as we cut away to Lynn there. And Jimmy Lynn in the Rev Sport International number 72, getting a little bit wrong out of the corner there. I had mistakenly thought we were going for a little track guide there because all of the UI had disappeared, and I'm so used to whenever that goes, we're ready. But what we'll do is once George Boothby is actually round the final couple of corners, we'll try and jump on board with George and see if we can try and talk you through one of the laps here. But as it stands, Valentin Barry then for the 116 Yardier community team in the pole position seat right now, 140.447. We saw a faster time in that in free practice, so there's no reason to doubt that is going to be possible. But here comes George Boothby then through the final couple of corners, then through into what is the Crocodiles, and then into Cheetah. Fast flowing left, right, and then left section again, on the way down to the final corner, down into Ingwe, round the left-hander. So let's go on board then. So it's all about the exit from that final corner then, as the McLaren 720S roars into life here up the start-finish straight. It's the kink is essentially turn one, but it's a tiny little right-hander here. Then it's on the run down into Crowthorne. This is what I class as turn one. Then it's into the run down through the Juke City sweep, and then the left-hander at Barbecue. Something the South Africans are very, very fond of. I know this because my partner is from South Africa. They've got so many different words. They call it a braai over there. Anyway, down into the right hander. Honestly, there's so many words for food in South African. It's unbelievable. Through Sunset, that fast sweeping right hander, and again a little bit of a jink as it car hits onto the curb there through the left hander at Clubhouse Bend on the run down. Now, this is the corner that always catches me out. Onto the brakes and pull the car in through the S's. And very, very easy for the car to understeer and go off into the right, at which point you're going to be playing bowling pins with the other cars. Then onto the brakes into look up, then this big, almost hairpin left-hander where the car doubles back on itself and then down through the hill, then through the mine shaft into this left-hander before you're onto the brakes into Crocodile. This is going to be a big overtaking opportunity here. Expect to see many, many cars trying to send it up this right-hander here, then through into Cheetah. Again, the left, right, left.
Ooh.
Keeps it on, though, looking very, very good. Onto the brakes into Ingwe then, and it's going to be a fairly decent time. It looked pretty ragged from George Boothby, but it looked like it was on the edge. And it's going to be across the line. So it's a 140.2. There we go. Gregor Schill, 139.9, Ewan. And Valentin Barry was sitting quite comfortably up the top there. But 8 minutes left to go. And my God, that's an impact from George Boothby there.
Yeah, he didn't have any intention of carrying on there, did he? He was straight into the barriers. But yeah, Schill doing a good job there. Waiting to see what Barrier can do in response, though, because those two were trading lap times. This actually happened the last lap of times that actually came in. We saw Schill go to the front, and then Barrier, when he came around, took the top spot again. So there could be a response coming yet from this 116 Porsche squad. We'll see what the response is going to be, but it's much more mixed at the front of the field this time around in terms of the manufacturers that are going strong around here, which is fantastic to see. I guess that's what you get when you have a varied circuit like this one with low-speed braking zones and tight corners, but also the high-speed, medium-speed ones in the middle of the lap as well that Barrier has just gone through. So, yeah, this is going to be setting us up for a very good race indeed, but it seems to be Schill versus Barrier, first of all, that are battling out in qualifying. 7 minutes to go, and I'd imagine we're going to be on the edge of our seat till the very final seconds of this one, and the margins are going to be very, very fine till the very final laps.
Yeah, and you can absolutely guarantee it. What I find very curious as well is with the large amount of McLarens here. We've got, 6 McLarens. We've only got one in the top 5.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that'll change in the next 6.5 minutes here as we go to Felix Diepers here for Lutz Motorsport in the 99, starting his next lap round. His last lap there was a 3:08, so I'm presuming that was some sort of an outlap there from Felix Diepers as he goes into turn number 1 then into to Crowthorne. But 6.5 minutes left to go. Gregor Schill firing that BMW right to the top of the qualifying. And again, with that run down and with how tight this group is here, Ewan, I mean, that is a fairly huge advantage so far for that BS competition car.
It's pretty decent. It's a slender margin over second place, but then when you look at the gap to third and the rest, that is fairly sizable for this stage in qualifying. So it's not bad. It's certainly not a bad lap time from Gregor Schill here, and you wouldn't expect anything less from him really. But it is interesting to see that despite the fact Angus Fender did so well to only be 200ths of a second off pole 1 week ago, they've got Schill in for this one. Maybe he feels a little bit more comfortable around this circuit than he did at Monza. Maybe Fender feels much less comfortable around here than he did 1 week ago. So there's a number of things that are possibly that could be at play there. But yeah, it is interesting to note that those two have swapped around who is taking the reins for qualifying on this particular occasion. Barrier as well didn't qualify last time either, so it's all a bit of a change at the front of the field. But we'll see what this lap time is going to be from this Porsche now. I believe this is a flying lap, although just building it up really, less than 5 minutes to go, still plenty of time to get the times down, and as you can see, setting himself up really rather than going all out on this one.
And of of course, it's a fairly huge day for his teammate Angus Fender. So we see Valentine Barry across the line. No improvement on that one, 140.9. So he still has to really pull out stops here. But as I said, it was a huge announcement today for Angus Fender, announcing the return of his real life outfit back to British GT this year with Century Motorsport in the BMW Motorsport M4 GT3. So, you know, picking up where he left off, you know, a BMW eSports sim racer with BS competition, and then being able to drive the same thing in real life. I mean, the boy is living the dream right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, it's great to see someone from sim racing doing so well as well. Someone who's so prominent in sim racing, getting up there at the forefront of at least British GT, which is no small championship either. It's a very nice place to be. So yeah, it's good to see. And Century Motorsport, to be honest, they're normally running GT4 BMWs, but in a GT3 on this occasion, and yeah, Fender going to be at the helm there. So looking forward to seeing that in the real world. But that might be one reason why they particularly have gone for the BMW rather than the McLaren. There might be something going on there. But yeah, it's certainly well practiced in that car, both in the simulator and indeed in real life as well. So we look forward to seeing that over 2022.
Yeah, we certainly do. I might actually get a chance to see him next week. I'm planning to go down to Oulton Park for the Easter weekend of British GT. But more about that later. Valentine Barry out the final corner, goes across the line, still can improve. In fact, that lap was slightly worse, 141.6. It was a lot worse actually. And hearing the devastating news from Jardier that the 116 team joined the server with the wrong team name. So. Yeah, that's not the best. That's a big F to all your supporters as well, as we see Oniko for the 199 Volante Racing number 2 outfit. Still only one McLaren inside the top 5, and that is George Boothby in this GTWR Yaz heat machine. Now, what I'm wondering is, with the track temperature rising as it's getting a little bit later in the morning. I mean, I say that it's only 6:12 a.m. but I wonder if the sort of the best times are maybe behind these cars, given that the track is going to, well, no, actually I'm gonna have to immediately take that back, because the track is only 15 degrees Celsius, so it's still way too cool to be going past that point yet. So I wonder why nobody's able to come really all that close to Gregor Schill.
I think what we saw in the first round of times, if you like, can really give us a clue, really, because if you think about it, they kept getting faster and faster as the stint went on, as you kind of bed these tyres in, and maybe even, you know, get them into the operating window, or at least into a better window, where they can operate a little bit better. We're still waiting for these final times to come in, where they've really kind of ramped these tyres up. And if you saw Barrier there a few minutes ago, he was actually on a lap. He did a 40.9, which is good enough for a top 10, just about. But he still pulled wide in the final corner there, getting a good run onto the front straight, because he's still not quite getting to where he needs to be in terms of tyre temperature and in terms of lap time. So they ramp it up right towards the end here. Maybe we'll see a few people going a little bit lower than their previous times, but it is a little bit surprising to see that we're not quite getting towards those times just yet. I think the track temperature is still cool enough for them to get away with it. They're just getting the tyres into the right window and of course ramping things up, hopefully going that little bit quicker. Maybe George Boothby can do that right now, coming over the line. He does, into third place. Maybe this is the start of the times tumbling in the very, very final seconds.
Yeah, let's have a look, because it is now or never for these cars. They need to get onto this lap within the next 30 seconds. One car that is going to do it, and is going to need it, is Yan Gang from Liper Esports in the 112, currently down in 9th position. But again, oh my goodness me, and that is how you bodge it. That is done and dusted, no further than P9 for Yan Gang there. What was I going to say is, 10 cars yet again split by less than a second. Such is the incredible pace that we've got in this this field tonight, and then outside of the top 10 it really does fall away quite quickly, as you see Taras Junekovic having a bit of a power slide through the corner there as we jump to the 724 Writer Engineering Esports machine of Tim Holtz. Just a couple of corners, that's out of Crocodile. Oh my goodness, and that is going to be a hefty repair bill. And the car just sits there as he's going to have to get that back on the pit lane. So there we go. It's looking like we have got to the end of qualifying, and it looks like Gregor Schill takes pole position. We've still got a couple of cars left out on track doing the qualifying right now, but in realistic terms, I can't see the 31 taking pole, and I can't see the 991 Bentley taking pole either here.
Absolutely, it would have to be an astonishing final couple of runs from those two to get anywhere here, really. But we could make it 11 cars within a second of the leader here, with the Riser Esports Porsche coming over the line right now. Is that going to be enough for 10th? Not quite. It's a 41-1 there, just a couple of attempts behind where they need to be. Here's the Bentley. Let's see if they can get themselves into the top 5. The best performing Bentley here, by the looks of things, by a long way. Couldn't even break the top 10 at the end of the Moza race. Today might be a day where they can indeed get into that top 10 though. Qualifying much better for them as we see the final runners coming over the line right now. I think you're right though, Gregor Schill is going to be taking the pole here. The only man into the 39s, and he is good value for that pole position.
Yeah, it certainly is. As Sebastian Apostle comes across the line to finish 3rd place. So Boothby knocked down into 4th, right at the last gasp there, right behind the best team on the grid, that 116 Jardier community team. And I'm not only saying that because apparently Jardier is handing out team chocolates. Ewan, I'll make sure to get you one as well, buddy. But Gregor Schill taking pole position then from Valentin Barrier. It's then Sebastian Apostle in 3rd place, George Boothby in 4th, Felix Diepers in 5th position, and then it's Christoph Verstrepen in 6th, and then into 7th position is going to be Junekovic, Taras Junekovic, and then into to 8th place is going to be the 199 car, isn't it, of Noah Sully Vasquez Rodriguez. Michelle in 9th place, Riley in 10th, Dvorak in 11th, Smith in 12th, Varagnolo in 13th, Prodol in 14th, and McConnell in 15th, with Nielsen and Haskell 16th and 17th position. 2 minutes left to go, so this is your 2-minute warning, ladies and gentlemen. Head to go and put the kettle on, get the popcorn in, get everything sorted out. It's David Christie and Ewan O'Leary here with you to call the race. Ewan, what are we expecting to see during this race then?
I think a lot of excitement and more of the same from what we saw last week at Monza. It was a great race, especially between those guys at the front. I could certainly outline the top 4 as having a really good chance at challenging for the race win here today, and I think there's going to be a big battle over that. Although the kind of battling and stuff that we saw last week might be a little bit specific to Monza. If somebody does have the pace over the others, they will be able to get through here with, I don't want to say relative ease, but they will be able to. They will find it possible to get through at the very least, and they will find it possible to get away. At Monza, it's kind of difficult to get away from people on occasion, but here you won't have those kind of problems. So if somebody is really on it towards the start here, they can immediately steal a march over everybody, and then it's just about holding it till the end of the race. It was a comfortable victory in the end for Yassit and GTWR in that McLaren. I doubt we're going to see a similar thing here today for them, but it's just about picking up points for those guys. And of course, the pole sitter last time went on to win. So BS competition, it's over to you in terms of converting this front row start into first to take the checker flag, of course.
There we go then. Ewan O'Leary laying the challenge down on a plate for you guys.
No pressure.
Exactly. And just thinking back to Monza, let's talk about the changed fortunes of the McLaren, because the McLaren, they had 6 cars in the top 10 on that first race, and now they've got 3 cars in the top 10 in this first race for qualifying. Pace lap is about to get underway. The formation green flag lap is about to go, and we are about to get going. The cars looks like a little bit confused here as they're making their way rounds. But obviously, as they get going, they'll come up to the line and get going for the rolling start then. So the 89 then, BS competition machine that's out there, second place in the championship, and they've got to really fancy their chances, not only taking pole position in the race, they've got the inside line into that turn number 1. Do you think they'll be watching in their mirrors at all?
I think they've got to really off of this start. You know, it's going to be a difficult start for everybody to make their way through. It's one of the I know we saw Monza get through fine, and that is probably the tightest opening section of corners in the entirety of motorsport almost. But this is not too dissimilar. It does widen out quite nicely down the straight, and coming into turn 1, it does actually get very, very wide. But it all of a sudden gets quite narrow quite quickly. So especially up through the hill, through what is 3 and 4 on the chicane. So you do, and the curves there are not that nice either to jump over. So they will have to sort themselves out a little bit, even though it does flat out very wide. And so everybody's going to have to be watching in their mirrors, looking left and right, and just trying to get through this opening section cleanly. Saw that last week. We saw everybody get through nicely at Monza. Let's hope everybody gets through nicely here at Kyalami as well, and we can get on with a very good race, because it does promise to be very close, particularly between these first 2 rows on the grid here. It does promise to stay very close through the duration of this race.
Certainly does. The other thing that we have to, I guess, talk about being the awkward elephant in the room, the carnage count. We need to think about how many retirals we're going to have from this race, given that we've got many tight corners, the likes of into Barbecue, the likes of into the Crocodiles, and then into Ingwe. For me, that means that there's a lot of dive bombs and a lot of last minute heroes. That's we're going to have to watch out for here. Do you think attrition is going to be something that we should be concerned about tonight here?
I think it is going to be a little bit of a factor here, because obviously it's a technical circuit, but it's a little bit old school as well. There's not tarmac everywhere on the outside of these corners. There is in some places, but not all of them. So, and you will meet the barrier quite quickly as well. So everyone will need to be careful of that. Stay on the road, and then hopefully they can all get to the end. But we're coming towards the final few corners now, and Gregor Schill will be readying himself and thinking about how he's going to attack turn 1 and hold on to this lead for BS competition.
Yep, here we go then. The cars all streaming through Cheetah then for the first time as we are on the formation lap here. 90 minutes of Kyalami for round 2 of the GT Omega Challenger Cup. Dave Christie and Ewan O'Leary taking you through all of the action. Hold your breaths, folks. This is going to be a spicy affair tonight. BS competition in pole position is the Jardier community car in second place. They run towards the line, and we get ready to go. Green flag racing any second now. There we go. The green flag flies, and that is a decent start from the 2 BMWs. The Porsche getting caught out on that start then. That second BMW of Sebastian Apostel might be up in there as well. A little bit of nudging there, and Felix Diepers fancies making it a BMW 1, 2, 3. It's not going to happen though, because Valentin Barrier tucks in to third position there. The car's all making their way through turns 2, 3 and 4, and it's all looking fairly orderly right now. A little bit of shuffling down, a little bit of nudging between one of the McLarens behind, and in fact that might have been the Ferrari actually of let's have a look. That's Smith that's in that one there, so we'll keep our eye on that. But yeah, some firm I think defending going on through the pack there. But look at that, Gregor Schill off into the distance here. You can see I think that might have been the BMW Felix Diepers trying to have a look up the inside of Valentin Barrier there, but it didn't come off as Gregor Schill makes his way down then into Leukop for the first time, as Sebastian Apostel just behind him. Felix Diepers was up into that 4th position there, so a really poor start for Boothby, getting knocked down into that 5th position there, but ends up losing it out again. So Boothby back up now into to 4th place there. And this is, well, what a recovery drive from the McLarens there. Boothby and co up into 4th and 5th position, Ewan, and we're barely even at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, all of a sudden they're looking at just a little bit stronger here, but not as strong as the BMWs. 1 and 2 at the minute. The 31 West Competition Racing car at the moment Sebastian Apostle doing a very, very good start here on this opening lap. To get up front. They didn't even attend the Monza race, and they're all of a sudden running up inside second position, so that's great for them. But yeah, restoring some of the McLaren's pride up front, I guess, in 4th and 5th, but there are a lot of them back here, as you can see on your screen right now. 3 of them outside of the top 10, outside of the top 12 indeed. It's not great for some of these guys towards the back, not as strong as they were looking 1 week ago, but yeah, for the second week in a row, it is BMWs making a very strong start on the opening moments, and the Bentley not doing too badly here, although coming under attack here for 6th position.
Yeah, that was never really going to work around the outside. Christopher Streppen there getting held out to dry by Felix Diepers, and Diepers then up into that 6th place then, and holds on to it as well. So he's going to try and make a comeback drive here, trying to get onto the back of the likes of Coe and the likes of George Boothby here as well. So again, a brilliant start to this race here, and I'm going to have to completely correct myself there. Of course, I got it the wrong way around. Christopher Streppen holding on to that position from Felix Diepers, because that the white and black car in front is actually the Bentley. I was thinking that was the BMW, and that is not an easy mistake to make, to mistake a Bentley for a BMW, but such is the size of these two behemoth GT3 machines. Goodness me. But yeah, another thing as well is since Jardy is in the chat, we've got to send our best wishes. Still obviously recovering over the past couple of weeks after getting struck down, and we send all our best wishes, Jardy, and hope you have a very speedy recovery. It's a horrible time, but you definitely will get over the worst of it. But back to Zhang Gang then, and they've got the 26 just behind them right now. That is the Team Kamikaze machine of Harley Smith just behind him right now, and hoping that they're not going to be doing a kamikaze into any of the turns here. But Gregor Schill still in the lead of this race now, commandingly against the 31 BMW that's up there, West Competition Racing of Sebastian Apostle. 3rd place for Valentin Barry in the Jardier Community Car. George Boothby, your last race winner, down in 4th position, not really able to make any big inroads into the Porsche and the BMW, but again, I would imagine tyre wear and mechanical sympathy a little bit of a factor for some of these drivers right now.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be, and we're seeing a top 5 as well get away just a little bit from the rest. But you do have to be careful. I mean, I know it's only a 90-minute race. It's not exactly like we'll be running for hours and hours here today, but you do have to just be a little bit careful, especially off of this start, to preserve the car, because of course if you do damage it, then you are going to be struck down quite easily, and you're going to have to make a pit stop. It's going to have to be quite a long one. You know, it's going to be a tale of woe from there. So these cars are just taking things a little bit carefully opening on, but for some it is a good idea to get through here. Definitely Deepers as well. We've been watching him try and get through on Verstappen recently. That's in that BMW behind the Bentley there, or trying to hide behind the Bentley, I suppose. And yeah, he definitely needs to get through, because he looks quicker than that 991 car, but Verstappen defending well enough at the moment to keep those guys behind.
It certainly is. And you just saw the 14 there in the background of Jonathan Riley for Volante Racing number 1. Going wide, that's a send and a half up the inside, contact, and well, I mean, you've got to say at that point, I mean, that was opportunistic from Felix Diepers, to say the least. And I feel really bad, but it's like watching somebody punch themselves in the face there. He tried to send it up the inside, Ewan, couldn't make it happen, collided with Christopher Streppen, and sends himself off into a spin.
Well, yeah, the chance was definitely there. The opening was definitely there, I feel, but I mean, we'll need to see it again. Just a little bit, but yeah, we'll get one now. But it was a slight bit of contact, very small bit of contact, and yeah, it's a shame to see him going around. But yeah, it's gap, forcing a gap just a little bit. There was one maybe there to get through, but unfortunately, a tiny bit of contact made, added in with the contact with the curb, and unfortunately, he went around. He's dropped all the way down to last now.
That is, yeah, that's unfortunate to say, but he will get back into the groove. He will get back up and back into this fight here. However, Christopher Streppen right now, I mean, he's not getting any sort of respite whatsoever, because, well, Felix Deepers might be gone. Up in to take the place of the I want to say a little virtual Yorkshire Terrier just yapping away at the heels of him right now, but I'm not sure how many of our viewers would actually get that one. But anyway, it's Taras Junekovic, who is just behind in that 7th position in that Porsche on the back of the Bentley right now. Gregor Schill still in the lead of this race though, from Sebastian Apostle, who is 1.4 seconds behind. Then about a second behind Tim Valentin Barrier for the Jardier Community Car. George Boothby in the number 75 Yas Heat GTWR machine down in 4th place. Good, still a good haul of points if that is a track that the McLaren isn't particularly good at. But they'll be wanting to take that 3rd place. And to be honest with you, Ewan, they're looking like they might be able to make that happen. Just 0.3 of a second behind that Jardier Community Car.
They're just applying that little bit of pressure at the moment for that final podium place. Boothby's going to be getting into this race more and more as it goes along, really, because as I said, as it went on last week at Monza, that car did get stronger, and in the end Whitehead was able to run away with the victory, really. Towards the end he was absolutely flying, so that McLaren does certainly seem to get a little bit stronger on first viewing as we go along. But yeah, you're right, this is my point really early about Deepers needing to get through on Verstappen, which is why I think he was absolutely entitled to go for the move down at turn 1, or turn 2 as it is officially. Verstappen is just not as quick as those around him though. He's a bit of a cork in the bottle. That qualifying time is inflating his race position just a little bit, and it's very important for these guys behind to actually make their way through here. Not only the 38 Porsche but the 14 McLaren as well. There of Jonathan Riley, who finished 3rd place, of course, at Monza.
Certainly did, but here we go then. This is further down then, so Ben McConnell lining up that move on the 724 machine in front of Reiter Engineering Esports machine of Tim Holtz. Then this is into turn 1, going to try and pull that car around the outside. Fair play, I mean that was a brave move, but just didn't have the overlap to actually make that work right now. Boothby falling a little bit behind in that 4th position now, down to 0.5 of a second. But I mean, with 80 minutes left to go in this race, pit stops obviously going to be a factor. Strategy is going to be a factor here as well, Ewan, with drivers getting through. And Valentin Barry, no sooner have I said that car's fallen back a bit, but Valentin Barry actually dropping a little bit of time, and Boothby right on the tail end of that car. And it looks like there's I don't know how to describe that there, Ewan, a little bit of a physical altercation between the two of them there.
Rubbing of the shoulders, maybe, metaphorically. Yeah, there wasn't much contact, but it was certainly noticeable. And yeah, this battle is going to be... well, he was basically showing Boothby there that you're not going to get through easily. Here, I'm going to put up a fight here, and why wouldn't he at this stage in the race? Even before this battle began, they were losing time to the BMWs, who are 1 and 2 at the minute and look the strongest in this field. So they might as well fight over this one. It's too early to settle for 3rd, of course, but it is a gap big enough that is worth fighting over at this stage. Boothby will believe, obviously, that he can try and make some inroads into that, and Barry obviously wants to hold on to this podium place. So the two of them are going to fight in this one again into turn number 1 by the looks of things.
As Boothby moves to the outside there, he's going to try and take that position, but Porsche just going to tuck it in on the apex. Still alongside, Boothby's going to try and take that position, but the Porsche just has the straight line grunt. What really impressed me there, Ewan, as well, is on the exit of that final corner, the exit of Ingwe, that Porsche, I mean, was absolutely gone. The straight line speed was incredible. The McLaren only able to catch up with it because it was in the toe of that Porsche up in front there. So very, very impressive. But the more that these two fight, as you alluded to there, Ewan, the more that Gregor Schill is going to just streak away up the road there. He's already about 5.2 seconds ahead of this little battle as it stands. Sebastian Apostle in no man's land, really. He's in 2nd place right now, 1.7 seconds behind the race leader, but thankfully 4 seconds, or near enough 4 seconds, as very, very wide. Boothby goes in a little bit too deep into that corner. Boothby's going to have to watch out as well now, because he's got that 199 car behind him, the Volante Racing number 2 of Oneko, just on his heel as well, 0.9 of a second.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said earlier, when these two start battling, others will start to get into the fight, and I can imagine a similar thing has happened back here in the battle for 11th now, as we see the Ferrari involved in battles. It was indeed this car that was running off ever so slightly wide on the very first lap of this race, just into the gravel, slightly losing a couple of places through barbecue, and now they've dropped to even further now in that Ferrari Hasali Smith. In 14th place at the minute, so yeah, and as you can see, the BMW behind catching on up to all of these guys in this battle for 11th because they're starting fighting. This kind of thing is happening up and down the field, really. It's what we've just seen, what we've just witnessed in the battle for 3rd that has recently grown to three cars, and now this battle for 11th is about 5 or 6 at this stage.
That's absolutely the case, and great to see a lot of support coming in for the number 72 there. That's the Rev Sport International machine of Jimmy Lynn and Ed Haskell. They're certainly receiving a lot of support to get all the way through the field, but at the moment stuck down there in that 15th position behind the likes of the 26 of Harley Smith there. Oh, and Harley Smith goes very, very wide, and surely that's going to be a position for Lynn. He moves one way then the other. Harley Smith now under big pressure in that Ferrari, and that Ferrari, you're kind of going backwards right now, because what you find, isn't it, that one mistake tends to lead to another. Yeah,
it can do. They certainly do snowball on occasion, and it's a very difficult corner anyway, really, that fast right-hander at Sunset. It's just, you need a very good, well-balanced car through there. You don't want it on the nose a little bit too much. You understeer off a little bit wide into the grass and off on the tarmac, and so you don't want the rear end going as well. And that was the problem for Smith there, just having to gather that one up, having to use a bit of extra space. But yeah, there's battle for 3rd, back on again, and even Verstappen is getting involved in this one now. All of these guys catching on from behind us. Barrier continues to try and hold Booby back.
Absolutely the case, and very close now is George Boothby to the tail end of that Porsche then for Valentin Barrier, but he just seems like he's very comfortable, very confident with where that car is placed, with where that car is positioned here, Ewan, and you get the sense that Boothby's starting to get a little bit frustrated behind this car, because as much as he's pushing, he's also then the pair of them falling back into the likes of Oneko, but it's saying that the 199 now and Christoph Verstappen, they're starting to fall away a little bit as well now.
Yeah, absolutely. It is interesting at this stage. The race already we're only 15 minutes in. It's already kind of changing the face of the race, really, and these different things just kind of changing at this stage. So yeah, I think at the moment, the way it's going, this battle for 3rd is only going to get between more cars at this stage, really, rather than anything else. So we'll see, really, how it develops. But yeah, it's certainly changing, and of course there's plenty of battles going on a little bit further down as well. But yeah, Barrier has certainly got the most pressure on him at the moment, I would say, fending off that final podium place.
Well, let's see how it all unfolds, but Gregor Schill then still in the lead of the second round of the GT Omega Challengers Cup. Sebastian Apostle in second place, Valentin Barrier in third. That means then the BS+ Competition in first place, then the 31 machine is in second, that's West Competition Racing, and then the 116 of Jardier Community Car is in third position as well. So Boothby trying his best to catch up to this fight, to get those championship points or get in the battle anyway. But we're watching Ben McConnell right now for RNE Team Red. Now he has got the 23 car behind him, and that 23 is the COS Esports machine of Dimitris Sanidis, who is trying to go there. But again, Sanidis in a hard place as well, because he's got yet another car behind him, a McLaren trying to get past. Now that is not who I think it is. I'm just trying to gauge who that is. Is that Nielsen that's already going a lap down? We'll get an idea on that car who is behind Ben McConnell just now. In fact, that is Sanidis behind him, because we're watching Ben McConnell in the blue car. My brain completely just melted there, Ewan, for an entire second there, and I got confused because of course that's Tim Holtz in the 724 Porsche that's up in front. Why is my brain not working tonight, Ewan, and why am I not able to tell the difference between what is quite clearly a McLaren and what is quite clearly a Porsche?
these aerial shots make it look like these cars are quite similar. I think when you said getting the BMW and the Bentley mixed up, I was not. I was in a similar boat. We'll put it that way.
Phew. Right, that makes me feel so much better.
Yeah, because they're both just big cars from up here. So yeah, there we are. Well, they're both BMWs. I think that tricked me again. So there we are. But yeah, it is a little bit difficult to tell. But this, interestingly, this is Deepers trying to get through on some of the cars running a little bit further down the order. Because of an issue earlier on, of course, down into the first braking zone of the lap, trying to get through on Verstappen, couldn't do it and went for a spin. Now he's got to fight his way through all of these cars. He's got through on that 17 McLaren already, and I can imagine he'll be making light work of the 26 and the 72 before long.
Certainly will. Gets a good exit, but not enough to get up. Meanwhile, Gregor Schill is just, I mean, he's on a rocket ship to the moon right now, 4 seconds ahead of Sebastian Apostle, and we're barely even 20 minutes into this race. And that means that he's now nearly 7 seconds. What a move! Are you kidding me? Felix Deepers just ends up going past the number 72 there. Like they were standing still. Poor Jimmy Lynn just had to watch as a car sends it up the inside there. That was outrageous.
It was a good move, but I feel like Lynn was willing to let that one go,
Yeah.
really. Because obviously he knows that Deepers is going to be a little bit quicker at this stage, and yeah, just letting him through at this point is probably the best idea, because for everybody's race, really, they can just try and go as quickly as possible on their own. But yeah, we'll see how far Deepers can really get in this race from here. Nice move from Ben O'Connell here, but I think a little bit of a switchback line, but got the outside line coming into at 13, which is the important one of this next braking zone. We'll see if he can get himself around the outside through turn 12. He's got the inside line, the shorter distance. Looks like he's going to have it done before the braking zone.
Wow, what a move from Ben McConnell. Now, that is a really intelligent play there, because what he's done is he's watched the way that that Porsche of Tim Holtz is on the last 2 to 3 laps there, and he's waited for that opportunity to come through Loikop and get the switchback. He knows that Holtz is wide on the exit and goes early in, and he went to the outside to pull it back in and get the better drive, and that's exactly what he did there. So inspired driving there from Ben McConnell to take that 11th position. He's going to be hunting down now Valek in the number 70 then, Yuri Valek, but again 10 seconds. Yeah, I'm not too sure that's actually going to happen, but we will keep our eyes peeled because another one trying to get past is Harley Smith on Sinidis just up in front. But there is your race leader, BS+ Competition, doing a grand job of being up in front there, 4.1 seconds ahead of Sebastian Apostle. Is BMW 1-2, and I think they'll be very, very happy with that. Is up in front. That's Tim Holtz, and I believe that's Sinidis that are side by side as well. So they're fighting it out right now as they come down into to Loikop there. So Sinidis trying to hold on to that position, but the number 23, sorry, excuse me, that's the 724 is trying to hold on to that position, but Sinidis wants it desperately from that Porsche just in front of him. Ewan, again, the Porsches with a good start, a good qualifying, but starting to maybe tumble through this order a little bit here.
Yeah, we've got a couple of them at the front of trains, really. Barry has picked his pace up a little bit. He's starting to put some distance, not into Boothby, but into everybody else. And Holtz early on had a very big train behind him. So yes, the Porsches do seem to be qualifying a little bit better than they're racing at this stage, but maybe that is just down to being on heavy fuel, because as the fuel's going down a little bit here, excuse me, as the fuel's going down a little bit here, they're picking up the pace a little bit as well. Although we've got the 38 Porsche here under pressure as well, so it does seem to be that they are struggling just that little bit early on here in this race. But very good for McConnell there to get through on Holtz, because yeah, we stuck behind for a while. That 724 on its debut in this championship this season was at the front of that train for a very long time, and finally the 125 has managed to get through.
Yep, there we go then. So job done for the 125. And it's going to be interesting to see whether Ben O'Connell can make up that time. I don't think he will, because Yuri Valek in that 70 actually stretching away from that car behind. But meanwhile, Jan Gang here for Leiper Esports trying to catch up to the back there of the number 38 car. And you can see almost managing to make that happen, but the 38 TJ Porka racing machine of Taras Nekovic trying his very, very best to stay firm against that Audi. And the thing is that it's weird how the Porsches had great one-lap pace, and now all of them really start to struggle in this race here. Although, with the exception of Valentin Barry, who is providing an exceptional I was waiting. Oh, you know when you're accidentally waiting to make a pun and you realise that, I was waiting to say he's making an excellent barrier to George Boothby, but I totally didn't mean that. So he's providing an excellent defence for that position. There we go. That's what we'll use. We'll stick with that.
He's providing a very good defence at the moment up to Boothby. I mean, not going as slowly as early, even though he's picked the pace up a little bit and kind of got rid of some of those behind him, like the 199. Even the Bentley was in the fray at one point. Though they've got away, but Schill is still putting time into him. From Apostle as well is putting some time into him. So it's not all great for the Porsches at the minute, and indeed Holt's still under pressure himself from Sanidis. Around the outside of turn 6 will be impressive, but he's not going to make it around there. Going to go for the switchback line and maybe a dive at 7. If he can. Outside line it's going to have to be, and Deepers is here as well, going to try and get through on both of these as quickly as he possibly can. But the 724 under heaps of pressure at the minute through the middle sector.
I feel so bad for Sinidas right now, because the way that's looking up you, and you know that he's trying to get past Holtz, and Deepers is just going to be like bye and just get straight past the two of them. That I've seen it so many times where the two cars are fighting side by side, as we see Yang Gang trying to get onto the back of Junekovic. It's not going to happen though, not certainly at this time. Late on the brakes there, tries to get a good exit, gets a little bit of a toe, but look, there is that power from the Porsche on the acceleration, on the straight line speed, doing a grand job here. McLaren will be in the toe here. Is it going to be a move into turn 1, moves one way then the other around the outside? McLaren tries outbraking the Porsche. That's never going to work. He drives into the sides of the Porsche. I mean, fair play. Anybody in that position is going to be trying to be a hero at that point, but that was never going to work. But back with this battle then, Dimitris Sinadis into try to do a carbon copy move of Tim Holtz there, and Holtz somehow just managed to let him pass there. So I've no idea how that happened. I think that might have been a minor little mistake from Holtz on the inside of the corner, and I'm watching the body language from that Porsche. He really didn't want that to happen. He wants that position back.
And not a lot they can really do at this stage, though, continuing to fall back. And very quick through that medium speed corner, though, as you see, into turn 7, maybe even a dive here, but they're not going to go for it. Just about gets his nose chopped off there, and has to stay on the defensive as well for Deepers, who is now right here and going to try and get through as quickly as possible on Holtz. But yeah, the Audi there just cut off the nose of the Porsche a little bit too much into turn 1 compared to what we saw Sanidis do, which is leave enough space and drive around the outside. Now Deepers is trying to drive around the outside, a much more difficult corner, longer corner at turn number 10 that turns into 11. It's a little bit too long for him, unfortunately. He can't get through there, but the next braking zone at 13, he might have a dive.
He's certainly looking for it, and he's getting forced right out by Tim Holtz there. This is costing him a heap of time as that Bentley comes in. And again, fair play to the BMW of Felix Deepers. He's trying to get past, but he's not forcing the issue. We've seen many times, you and myself and you, the car's been in similar position and they just roll off the brakes and just straight into the car in front. So very disciplined drive here from Felix Deepers. He wants to get that position, but he's wanting to do it the right way as well, as we've got just over an hour left to go in the second round of the GT Omega Challengers Cup. That's going to be a late break on the inside for the BMW. He gets away with it though. Tim Holtz could have come in much earlier and forced that collision there, but he didn't, and thankfully both cars get to think better of it. back this fight then with Zhang Gang for Lifer Esports on the back of the 112, sorry, on the back of the 38 right now. And yeah, this fight is going on, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere right now.
But really, I think Gang definitely wants to get through, as opposed to some of the other battles where I'm always beginning to believe that Boothby doesn't want to go through at this stage. They might as well stick how they are at the moment, but Gang definitely does want to go through here in the Audi. And at the moment, Uknovici is just doing a good enough job to stay in front right now in 8th position. So, well, speaking of which, more defence here from one of the Porsches, although we've seen this before. Deepers with a little bit too much to do around the outside. Holtz is proving to be very good at defending. You know, we've seen him falling through the field in terms of pace, but he's certainly not bad at defending here around the course, because even Deepers, who you'd expect to be quite a lot quicker than him, is struggling to get through.
Certainly is. Let's give you a recap of where we are with the race right now then. Gregor Schill in lead of the race by 6 seconds over Sebastian Apostle in second place. Valentin Barry doing a cracking job of holding off the advances of George Boothby in that Yagazi machine in 75. In 4th position in the 75. Oreco in the 199 McLaren in 5th position. Christopher Streppen in Bentley in 6th. It's then Riley in 7th position. Unekovic in 8th. It's Yang Gang in 9th, and look at that, trying to go around the outside is Felix Deepers. Can't make it happen again, and that Porsche now becoming a bit of a cork in the bottle here. How much longer, Ewan, do we think that that Porsche is going to be in the middle there? Is behind, actually. I'm just seeing Harley Smith and Lynn having a little bit of arguments there, but yeah, thankfully that all resolved itself.
Yeah, Lynn actually getting through in the Ferrari if Harley Smith continues to fall down the field, unfortunately, to 16th position now for the 26 car. So, yeah, Lynn's up another place. But, yeah, it's this battle between Deepers and Holtz is basically allowing those that duo behind to catch up as well. So, yeah, as I said earlier, Holtz just proving to be very good at defending. Deepers can't find a way through at the moment. Maybe the dummy hit, look on the outside line very early and then cut to the inside. Well, Holtz had that one covered. Deepers are much further alongside this time around and goes deeper into the corner, but still turn 10 and 11, just too long for that BMW to get around the outside through. Still got the outside for 12, maybe still the inside for 13 though, and on the brakes, is this going to be enough for the BMW? Not quite, just too much of a tight line, is it? A nice exit, and this is going to be scary, coming up the hill and through this right-hander. Not really a side-by-side corner, they've had to make it work, and they're still going side-by-side, coming towards the final corner.
Porsche's going to try and take that corner back and forces BMW wide contact behind, and Jimmy Lynn gets sent flying by Harley Smith, and that BMW stranded in the middle of the track. Jimmy Lynn will get going again, but yeah, that is, you better believe that's not going to be best pleased. And there we go, Felix Deepers gets the move done while we're watching all of that unfold. Felix Deepers in the world's slowest overtake that's been coming for like 5 laps. Finally gets past Tim Holt. Tim Holt, I mean, he gets a bit of an award for that defensive drive there. That was very impressive. That was some stout defending there.
Not only against Deepers, but against all of the guys who've come through on him in recent laps, McConnell and Sanidis as well. You can see the gaps that have been created now. Deepers has got 5 seconds to Sanidis. Sanidis himself has got 4 seconds to that fellow McLaren. That just shows how much Holtz is able to defend and hold these guys back, really, for better or worse. I don't think it's particularly great for his race. He's just trying to hold on to places, though. But yeah, it does show that he's defending well, and indeed for a long time. So, yeah, fair play to him on that one. And he continues to try to hold back Smith and Nishan possibly soon enough. But yeah, unfortunately, Lynn going around there, Smith getting into the back of that BMW by the looks of things. And unfortunately, the 72 has been demoted to last.
He certainly has. So Jimmy Lynn down at the bottom then in that 72 machine. But 18 laps into this race then, we've broken the 1 hour left to go mark. We're going to be looking in the next 15-20 minutes, I think, Ewan, at pit stops, at which point the teammates get in. And I think that opens up an entirely different kettle of fish there.
Certainly does. It will change the race. You need 2 good teammates to win a race, really, rather than just one fast driver. if Gregor Schill, for example, had had me for a teammate, then he wouldn't be winning despite this 7-second lead. So you get the point. It's a team sport, of course, and you do need your teammate to back you up in that stint. So we'll see who's obviously we do have an idea of who we're getting in and their likely pace, but what are they going to be like around here in these conditions, in this race situation? It's all to kind of unfold over the next hour or so. But yeah, 15 minutes or so, we should see these guys start to come in at some point. Although you could see overcuts or undercuts from those like Verstappen right here, who are stuck behind others.
Certainly could, but 58 minutes left to go here. Here is Christopher Streppin onto the back of Oniko, down into Ingwe for another time then to start lap number 19 here. Half a second behind that McLaren, and McLaren's, despite that qualifying, that qualifying downfall, they're starting to make their way back in now, because that's now three, as we said, three McLarens in the top 10. Soon to be possibly maybe three McLarens in the top 5 if George Boothby can make his way past Valentin Barrier.
Yeah, quite possibly. It would indeed. We saw some fantastic pace from them at Monza. We actually didn't see as good a race pace compared to their qualified pace, but we still saw 6 in the top 8 there at Monza. We've got 3 inside the top 8 this time, but none of them are on the podium yet. So it is a bit of a turn up for the books, really. McConnell and Tsanidis, are still going quite quickly at the moment. However, I don't think it's going to be much more than a top 10 for them. Even then, they're going to struggle. So yeah, it's certainly a reversal of fortune, but this is what I was talking about earlier on about car selection. You need to have a good car over all of the races, not just one of them. We're already seeing those kind of disparities emerging and rising to the fore right here.
Absolutely are, and Christopher Streppin there, a beautiful looking livery here, taking part in this GT Mega Challenger Cup here. Again, just watching the way that car is catching on to the back of Oneko there, he seems to have better balance, better speed than the car in front here. Do you think that's maybe the size of the Bentley? And if so, I mean, given that Verstappen and that 991 machine P2 SimSport, the only Bentley taking part in this championship, is this maybe the only track where they're actually going to have a chance here?
Well, it's because given it's an 8-round championship, I somewhat doubt it. But certainly in my experience, the Bentley does seem to be one of the most stable cars out of all of them. Actually, I would have actually said over all of a season, it would actually be a very strong choice because it is so stable and it is so consistent as well. As we're seeing a bit of a dive down the inside into turn 5 here, and it's hopefully going to be able to use some of that rear end stability around the outside here at turn 6. Certainly going to need it on the McLaren, which is slightly more shaky, but at least holds on at the moment to 5th place. Although Verstappen able to give it a very good go around the outside of turn 6 and maybe a dive at 7. Getting very close between these two at the moment, but the Bentley not quite able to get through just yet.
Well, let's see how that goes then through the last couple of corners then. They're coming on the run down then. This is through the S's and then on the run down to Loikop then. With about, as we said, about 10 minutes to go before we hit the halfway point in this second race of the championship. Verstappen hugging the inside line in that Bentley as Oneko a little bit wider there, tries to get a decent exit, and I wonder how the cars are being on their tyres right now. Is just seeing that Gregor Schill now has a 7.7 second lead over Sebastian Apostle. What we're going to have to see as well is Christopher Streppin having to be careful because he's got Oneko in front and he's got the number 14 of Riley just up in front of him. So just behind him, Jonathan Riley very, very close here. And where does Christopher Streppin look right now? Does he look in front or does he look in his mirrors? Is he attacking or is he defending or is he trying to do both at the same time here?
I think he was trying to avoid this situation by getting through on the 199 before the 14 got here, but unfortunately he's not managed that. So now he does have a bit of a predicament. It's one of the hardest things to do, of course, attack and defend at the same time, because you can't use all of the lines that you would normally to attack, because it might put you under attack from the driver behind, Jonathan Riley in this case, and not a slow driver by any means either is Riley. As I mentioned earlier, took that car home to a 3rd place at Monza just got pipped on the line by that BMW in the very exciting final few laps between them and BS Competition. This time starting the race, which is a new thing for him, and I believe qualified that car as well. Didn't do quite as well in qualifying as maybe some expected, but he is racing very well here, up into 7th position from the lower part of the top 10, and now knocking on the door of a top 5. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get through on both of these guys soon.
Yeah, it's very, very possible with 53 minutes left to go. But again, it's that whole thing of, does it play into your strategy? Does it help you out? As we see Harley Smith getting given a 15-second penalty, and I'm only going to presume that is for the contact with Jimmy Lynn about 5 or 6 laps ago. But Jonathan Riley for Volante Racing Aztec Sim Sport, just making his way down towards these final couple of corners again, very, very wide into to that second to last corner there, through Ingwe, back onto the tail end of Christopher Streppen, probably closer now than he's ever been to the back end of that Bentley. Are we going to see a dive into turn 1 here? That's what we have to wait and see. I think he's a little bit too far back, so it might be later on in this lap for Jonathan Riley, but certainly Christopher Streppen, where he was looking very comfortable getting onto the back of Oniko, he is in a very, very difficult situation. We also have to speak about George Boothby, Ewan, not able to make any way past Valentin Barrier whatsoever.
No, and I actually, a bit of a gap opened up between the two of them, actually over a second ended up opening up between the two of them. But that's now been reeled in ever so slightly. As I said earlier, these two kind of running in formation at this stage. I don't think it's the best idea for Boothby to try and get through really at this stage, at least until the pit stops have been made and he's handed over to his co-driver. I think it's a better idea to stay behind at this stage in the race, really. But he might want to get through just before the pit stops. Of course, those pit stops will change the order of the race as well, just a little bit. But if they want to stay in touch with that 31 BMW in second position, then they do kind of need to run in formation and not let that gap get any bigger than the 4 seconds it's at right now.
That's what we will certainly keep our eye on. If you have just joined us, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to round 2 of the GT Omega Challenger Cup, powered by Simracing.GP and Moza Racing. It's Dave Christie and Ewan O'Leary bringing you all of the live coverage here tonight, as we see again back to P6 then, stuck in between a rock and a hard place then, or rather in between a McLaren and a McLaren, is Christopher Streppen here for P2 Simsport. Is Jonathan Riley closer now in that number 14 McLaren? He is, but he can't get the run on that Bentley. The Bentley just has incredible straight line speed here, as we've got just 50 minutes left to go in this race, and now I'm starting to think about the co-drivers taking part in this race tonight, Ewan, and whether or not, you know, how do we play this in terms of strategy? Do we leave our faster driver till second, or do we get a faster driver out there first and hope that they can make some big inroads?
I think the idea is that you have two fast drivers, but it's not always possible, of course. Yeah, often you find that having the the fastest driver second is the better idea, because they're more likely to be running in clean air and have the opportunity to actually use it. If you have your fastest driver out first, they could end up in traffic. For example, Boothby has not really seen any clean laps this race, because he's just been in traffic all the time. If he had, if he was the faster driver, hoping to put some time down on everybody else, then already their race plan is kind of gone, and there's no plan B for that, really. They're just going to be completely out of it, or at least not where they want to be. So obviously it's ideal to have two similar paced drivers or two fast drivers, but generally you'd want to have your fastest driver in the clean air, which often means going second, because as you can see now, the gaps have, although we have battles out there, of course, the gaps are getting larger as the race goes on.
They certainly are. And here we go again then, as we see Christopher Streppen. Now, what has happened to Jonathan Riley? Dropping away a little bit now. What's that, 0.8 of a second? So it looks bigger than it actually is. And poor Jimmy Lynn for Rev Sport International. I believe the chants in chat were Rev Sport or no sport. And unfortunately, because of that contact with Harley Smith, it's a bit of a no sport tonight in that 17th position. But it's still not over yet. Lots of, you could roll the dice strategy-wise and really get yourself up there, but it's all been about this man so far. Gregor Schill in the BS+ competition machine up there in front. In that 89, he'll be handing over the car to Angus Fender. And I wonder, Ewan, obviously with that exciting announcement today, you'll think that he's very excited to kind of show what he can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Or further do it. I think he does display that though every time he gets into a car. Really, we saw him very impressive last time out at Monza. He was obviously second place in qualifying by 0.02 of a second, and then he gave the McLarens a very good run for their money at an ideal circuit for them. And so I have a feeling he's going to be kind of doing a similar job here today. And as you say, very motivated. But obviously the job is very different today. He came into the pit lane at the halfway stage last time out, and then watched Gregor Schill battle out the rest of the race. And well, it wasn't Gregor Schill, was it at all? It was Ryan Barneveld who we were swapping with. But yeah, he's ending off on the race on this occasion, which is a much different prospect to starting the race. And of course, controlling the race in the situation like he's going to be in is very different as well to situations he's been in the past. As we see Jonathan Riley kick off our pit stops here with 47 minutes to go. Unsurprising, because he was stuck behind these two not so long ago.
Yeah, certainly, and that's sometimes that's the best way, isn't it, Ewan? If you're stuck in a battle, if you're stuck, fighting someone, sometimes that easier option is just to really push things on and get going. As we see Felix Deepers into the pits as well, Jonathan Riley, as you said, into the pits. So yeah, I mean, roll that dice and see what happens.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing at the moment. Deepers, it's a good idea for him as well, stuck in traffic a little bit. Holtz can't wait to get out that car by the looks of things either. Coming in, Neeson follows them in. So yeah, early pit stops here. We've even seen the 26 car of Holly Smith, who was driving at the time. Now it's Hamilton who's currently in that car. So Craig Hamilton, excuse me, currently driving that car. So yeah, a couple of early stops here, but you can imagine some of those who are in more ideal places, like those two BMWs 1 and 2, will want to run out a little bit later on. It's all about where you are on the circuit, who you're behind, who you're in front of, etc., etc., who your teammate is, and yeah, that'll be the deciding factor in who comes in when in this race.
Well, lots to pick out and lots to think about as the Bentley goes very, very wide. I believe that might have been Oneko. Yep, Oneko into pit lane. So does George Boothby then. And Boothby, I think, might be rolling the dice as well, because he was stuck behind Valentin Barry with no clear path. And you've got to say as well, Valentin wasn't like having to take crazy lines or defend super hard. Boothby just couldn't get past that machine in front.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as I said earlier, I think halfway through that stint, he was kind of thinking, well, what is the point in me fighting over this so hard? We're going to lose time to the two leaders and those in behind us, because it was getting quite a dangerously big group at one stage. And so, if I fall in behind here, I might limit myself to second later on in this race, but thinking about the big picture, that's not all too much of a bad thing. If we're thinking about obviously it's too early to start adding up points and whatever, but if we think about this in a championship context, it's not too bad of a result to be fighting for a podium. And that will be 2 podiums in 2 races, which is very, very respectable indeed. And of course, he'll have confidence in Luke Whitehead once again, who finished off the race so excellently 1 week ago at Monza. He'll have very much confidence in him that he can do something in this second half of the race. So plenty of cards and options still on the table for those two, as we see more drivers exiting the pit lane. Still 8 to come in.
Yeah, it certainly is. Let's have a look then. So basically everybody, apart from Jimmy Lynn, outside of the top 8, has pitted so far. So it's Noah Sully, Vasquez Rodriguez in the 199, who just comes out of pit lane, and he's down to 11th place. You've got the number 14 there of Granpas Caracas taken over from Jonathan Riley, and again great with bated breath. And then 75 of Luke Whitehead, your championship leader, into that 9th position here. So again, with 44 minutes left to go, I can't see the lead changing, quite honestly. I think Gregor Schill just looking very, very comfortable. And let's face it, the other driver in that 89, Angus Fender, he's not exactly a slow coach, is he?
Exactly. So those two are pretty much gone at this stage with over 10 seconds of a lead. But I don't think that 31 car in second is quite comfortable on that second step of the podium just yet. Barry and as it was, Whitehead now will be making some inroads there, and you can see Whitehead here trying to do the undercut. We're on board with him right now, and some of the fastest laps you'll see around Kyalami. This next lap time is going to be quite scary. That was a out lap, so not representative, but this next lap time is going to be quite scary indeed from Whitehead in this McLaren, because he's trying to do the undercut on Barrier. If he can get in front of that Porsche, then I very much think that BMW in second place is going to be under real pressure in the second half of this race.
Yeah, he absolutely is, and that's the wonderful, wonderful dynamic about this race, isn't it, Ewan? The fact that it almost, you know, it's like water. It ebbs and it flows. It goes in and it goes out, and you can never really be sure what is going to happen. And Christoph Verstappen then up into P4, but again out of position right now with everyone doing their pit stops. That is, yeah, that's a bit misleading to say the least for Christoph Verstappen. Now, hang on a minute, is that the one? No, it's not. That's the 724 of Pradal. Yeah, I was getting close, but yeah, almost. So there we go. Apostle, Barry, and Gang into the pits then, and that just leaves Gregor, Schill, and Christoph Verstappen. How long do we think that a race leader is going to leave it out?
I think the race leader, if I were them, I'd stay out as long as possible. Why would you come in? What is the need? There's nobody to undercut or overcut yourself from. There's nobody in danger of undercutting you. So I think they can leave it out as long as possible. And Schill is in such a great rhythm at the minute. Obviously, he's a fantastic driver and he knows what he's doing, especially in the BMW. Very scary prospect he is in a BMW, but no, there's nobody going to catch him in this race, surely, unless there's a mistake being made. He's in the rhythm, as I say. Stay out there as long as possible, come in as late as possible, and then hand over to Fender towards the end. But even coming in at this stage in the race, since everybody is pitted anyway, you're not going to find yourself or nearly everybody, you're not going to find yourself in traffic or in any trouble like that. So it is going to be, kind of pick and choose when they like to come in, really, as we look at Max Voitana, who's managed to get himself in front of Whitehead and even put a bit of distance into the McLaren.
Yeah, and Max Voitana is a very, very fast driver there, so yeah, really, really interesting. Just saying, Gregor Schill into pit lane then, and Christoph Verstappen still going to be the only car, it looks like, that hasn't pitted right now, although 25 seconds behind. Here is Ed Haskell take over the wheel of the number 72, getting past the McLaren just behind, or is that Jan Bierhoff that's just behind? I can't quite tell from here. I think he's just made that move. In fact, looking up the inside as well there, so that's Jan Bierhoff and Hamilton that's taken over the controls of the Ferrari. So Ed Haskell for Rev Sport International making his way back up from that last position on the grid, and I'm very happy to see that.
Absolutely. It is great to see, and it's great to see battles going on up and down the field in whatever position, really. It doesn't matter what position you're battling over, might as well battle over it. That indeed is Angus Fender, by the way, as these guys unlap themselves. He makes his way out of the pit lane after his pit stop, but yeah, Hamilton down the inside. The Ferrari really struggled in the first part of this race. Hamilton looking to make amends for that, and he makes his way down the inside of Bierhoff to get up into 16th place.
Absolutely beautiful, beautiful stuff there. That's great to see. Just going back to something you picked up on before the pit stops here, and that was how second place wasn't looking all that comfortable right now. I'm going to absolutely agree with you on that one, because Max Voitana now looks to be, 1.2 seconds behind second place in that BMW. So, yeah, that could be another scalp for that Porsche of the Jardier community team. I got a little bit confused there at the team name, and then I remembered back to Jardier saying that they'd accidentally entered the race with the incorrect team name there. So yeah, great to see Max Voitana doing a grand job of holding on to that third position, but realistically I wouldn't put it past getting that second place.
Yeah, absolutely. I like how he waited till I was right to agree with me, but I would do the same. So don't worry.
I was more impressed. Actually, I remembered something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a lucky prediction. We'll go with that. But there we are. No, Nikolai's certainly going to have his hands full in the second half of this race. There's no doubt about that. And even though Whitehead has lost a lot of time in the pit stop cycle, that McLaren's pit stop, maybe it was a little bit longer. Maybe the in-laps or out-laps weren't quite as good as they were hoping for. But they're nearly 3 seconds away. I'm not counting them out of the fight for a podium here either. Because we saw once again how strong Whitehead was last week in the back end of a race. So yeah, the battle for second is one to watch for the future. This one is a battle to watch right now, though, isn't it? P15, certainly all fists are flying everywhere and punches being thrown everywhere here.
Exactly. So fantastic stuff to watch here. Really enjoying myself here, and definitely a spectacle that we've been given here in this second round of the GT Omega Challenger Cup here, as Craig Hamilton doing everything he possibly can to get past this BMW of Ed Haskell. The BMW hasn't looked comfortable, has it? I mean, it's putting itself there, but the Ferrari just mugged it and just went round the outside, just said thank you very much, I'll take that anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Might as well. Not going to pass up an opportunity like that one. So yeah, make its way through. Not entirely sure how Craig Hamilton was able to get this car working so much better than Harley Smith was able to. I know these guys only ended up 14th at the end of the race at Monza, but yeah, that Ferrari looking very strong now, but it really wasn't earlier. So yeah, not entirely sure how that is switched around quite so easily and quite so quickly. But yeah, they're certainly running very well now.
So let's keep an eye on this one then. Tillerson just ahead for... sorry, I'd try to catch up to the back end of that 125, isn't it? Of... see the 125. So that is... Well, I've got Hullerman that's on my screen for that, but then, of course, has the other car being shared, does that 125 right now. So... Hullerman just getting ahead of that BMW right now. The BMW try to take that position back, but it's, I don't know, I mean, the BMW is fast, but it doesn't look confident, does it? It just doesn't seem to have the belief that if it's going to put itself in there, that it can take that position from Hullerman in front. So yeah, a bit of a strange one. He sends it up the inside, but yet again doesn't have the confidence to break late. I mean, fair enough, yeah, gets a good run, but the McLaren's always going to have a better run on the outside.
Yeah, he's struggling a little bit to get through on some of these cars, and that is it's not all too surprising really to see one of the front runners struggling to get through on cars a little bit further down, because they're not quite used to running in traffic as much sometimes. But yeah, it's a car off there. It looks like the 72 of Haskell looked like went off the road a little bit, and Beerhoff gets through as he's getting lapped here. But yes, for whatever reason, that 99 struggling to get through on some of these cars. But I don't think it's down to a BMW thing, because notice that it does have very good straight line speed. We saw it off the start of this race. The 89 and the 31, they hit the throttle and they just went down the first straight of this race. And you know, there was nothing the McLarens and Porsches around could actually do about them. So I don't think it's down to a car thing, maybe a setup thing, but yeah, they certainly are struggling back in the pack.
Yeah, absolutely are. So let's have a little look at a replay then of what happened to Ed Haskell there in that number 72 here, as we have a look here. Now, there's no other cars beside him. Oh, that's a very strange incident there, Ewan. Just, you know, the car just slides off, and I mean, it's a relatively minor incident for him, but still, it's an incident, and it's not one you want to have with 35 minutes, you know, left to go in the race, and you're trying desperately to pull yourself back up through the positions.
Yeah, just losing the back end really it's just one of those things really, and I think it's a difficult couple of corners. I think we can't understate that really. Down at turns, turn 8 and 9. The S is slightly downhill there. Change of elevation on the exit as well. The curbs are, as I said earlier, the curbs are not that nice around here in some places. But yeah, you do need a stable car around here, especially through the middle section. You don't want to be ramping up the rear wing angle too much, because obviously there's a couple of straights where you'll suffer. But you do need that rear end stability, and sometimes you can just lose that coming through this middle sector, through the S's, or indeed 6 and 7 before that. So yeah, just one of those things really, just losing the back end a little bit, but thankfully didn't or catch out anybody else in that incident.
Certainly didn't. So, epic race that we've been watching here. Angus, Fender and Gregor Schill for BS+ Competition. Really just, they're doing what GTWR Yas Heat did last week at Monza. They're running away with it. They're looking so absolutely dominant, and fair play to them.
Yeah, absolutely. No, fair play to them. Anyone who's got a lead at this stage in the race, as big as theirs, is doing a very good job indeed, and it's continuing to go out. I know this battle's starting to happen, but yeah, 10 seconds it's holding there at the minute, and doing a very good job. I'll tell you who else has done a very good job in this race, in this Audi. It's the 112 there. I don't know how many Evo versions of the Audi R8 they're going to make, but this is the latest of them, and it's flying at the minute. 6th place on the cards here.
The Audi is a changed animal. I mean, it looks like it's going to be making a move here on the Bentley of Martin Ulrich anyway, straight up into turn 1. The Bentley's going to try and turn round. The Audi's there, and yep, the Audi's going to take that position. I tell you what, I mean, fair play, Ewan. There's not many cars that can bully a Bentley out of a corner, but that Audi did it. The other thing is, you mentioned the Evo version. It really has changed. Yeah, exactly, the Evo 2 LMS. It has changed massively. So I was a massive hater of the Audi. I just find it schizophrenic in its behaviour. It was so unpredictable. You could go around the same corner 9 times out of 10 and you'd be absolutely fine. That 10th time it would just decide nope and send you straight into a wall. And thankfully it doesn't look like those characteristics have carried over to this Evo 2 version. But as you say, not really getting as much of the attention in the championships as I think as it deserves, nor is that new Ferrari Evo.
Absolutely, those two cars are getting a little bit less at this stage, but the Audi does look a little bit more stable. I feel like, I'm not sure if it's just me, but it looks a little bit wider than it used to be. From what I can see, to the eye anyway. Maybe I'm going a little bit mad, but it looks a little bit wider, and maybe it's giving a little bit more stability to that car at the minute. They're certainly making good use of it there in the 112 team, but yeah, it's good to see. I mean, I don't know when are they going to make a new car instead of just keep updating this one. I don't really know, but there you are. It's, I suppose, why fix it? It's not broken. It's won so many things. It's won all the major endurance races, for example, won all the major GT3 championships, been very successful in them for year after year, so I guess if it's not broke, then why fix it?
It's like Jay out there in Betweeners, isn't it? Yeah, completed it, mate. Yeah, won that. Everything that you can possibly mention, yeah, I've done that, mate. And that's exactly what they've done. And what a heritage that they've got as well. And that's what I love about GT3, is that you could say that almost about every single brand, every single mark that takes part in modern day GT3. Every single one of them has its followers, has its lovers, has its haters. Every single one of them has its own unique brand and personality. Think for me, like I think of the Lamborghini. I think it looks absolutely beautiful, but it's horrendous to drive. I think of the BMW. That was my first ever car on Assetto Corsa Competizione, and I absolutely loved it. But this was the old one. Was it the M6? I think it was, the original GT3, and it was slow as heck, but it was stable, and I could drive it. I could drive it fairly well. And by fairly well, I mean not crash into a wall at the nearest opportunity. So, yeah, but nobody drove it because it was super slow. So. Every single car has its own unique personality, and it's another thing that Assetto Corsa Competizione does so wonderfully well. But again, not to tempt fate here, Ewan, but just a very quick segue or a very quick digression. New tracks. What track would you like to see in this sim?
I mean, what haven't we got at this stage? I think it's obviously following. Has to follow. I'm not sure if this is correct at all, but it doesn't have to follow one of the GT World Challenge. Has to be on the calendar of one of the GT World Challenge. What's it called? Championships. Does it not?
Yes,
is that not?
It has to be on the SRO calendar.
Yes.
Of one of their championships.
Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to think of any we haven't got. I mean, I can't. Nothing springs to mind. Now, obviously, when it started out, I did think the track list was a little bit thin on the ground for ACC. It wasn't great, but now there's so much to choose from, and I'm particularly glad to see this circuit in particular on there. It's not represented in many sims or games at all at Kyalami, and it's finally good to see motorsport not completely rejecting this the African continent, which is a good thing, and hopefully that continues to span out into more championships. We see more racing in real life and in sims, I guess, at this circuit.
Well, I'm just looking at the American calendar, because that's obviously widely tipped to be coming as well. You've got, for me, Virginia, Watkins Glen, Sebring and Road America. Give me those, and you can take my wallet. I'm not even take my cash. You can take my wallet and keep it forever. I'll be very, very happy. And then maybe you and I can afford a computer that can actually run Assetto Corsa Competizione in VR, because at the moment, with a 3070 and a Ryzen 3700X, it's still absolutely cripples to its knees trying to play that game in VR. So one day we will live that dream, my friend.
Yeah, so, I mean, one day I'll have a computer strong enough to run a sim. So that'll be nice.
Wow, that's some dark ages you're living in there. Wait, not even live for speeds.
You're talking about getting the VR headset out. I'm still here in the Stone Age, but anyway, that's a discussion for another day. But yeah, and not like I've been much use at driving anyway. I'm pretty useless, to be fair. So
you've got to start somewhere. But saying that, I mean, there's always the likes of Live for Speed. Live for Speed can run on literally a potato. It's still, if you've got nothing else, that is. You'll very much like that game. It's an enjoyable moment. As talking of moments, was that the Bentley of Ulrich, or was that a BMW just moving out the way? That might be Ed Haskell, I think, there, just moving out the way. But anyway, either way, it is Ed Haskell. I was getting excited there, and thankfully the producers here at GTA Mega saw that and they thought, just calm yourself down over this. It's only Ed Haskell who's been put a lap down there. That's a shame to see. Ed really struggling there, as is the likes of Hamilton and Beerhoff. But one other interesting thing, actually, coming back onto the topic of this race, heaven forbid, do you remember how every single lap Gregor Schill was taking time in chunks out of second place? Well, Nikolai isn't dropping back, so I wonder, do you think this is maybe just pace management?
Yeah, there's a number of things that could be at play here, really. I guess pace management from Fender is one of them. Is Nikolai a little bit quicker than we saw from his co-driver a little bit earlier on in the form of Apostle? That's a possibility, I suppose. He is putting a little bit of time into Voigtner just behind, and Whitehead not really making inroads either, although they weren't really to his teammate Apostle. So maybe it isn't that. I think it could well be pace management from Fender, or just not quite being on the pace compared to Nikolai at this stage. Obviously, we don't know how prepared he is for this race, which obviously makes a big difference. So yeah, a number of things could be at play. But when you've got a 10-second lead with less than half an hour to go, you do tend to take your foot off the gas ever so slightly.
Certainly does. Right, let's have a look then, as Wojtek Dvorak here in 10th position. This is not a bad showing, actually, for the number 70 team down there in 10th position for Riser Esports, taking over that car from Jiří Valek. So again, 10th position, not to be sniffed at, especially given the field that we've got. But I'm very surprised that, yes, we've got a big gap between first and second place, but I mean, in the whole grand scheme of things, it's actually fairly, it's a fairly polite and well-mannered affair tonight, but B, very close.
Yeah, it is very close. That's what we want to see, really. We don't want to see gaps spread out between everybody really early on in the race and have nothing to watch throughout the rest of it. We want to see these battles carry on, and this is a bit of a lappery going on, but there could be a battle for 8th place happening soon between that 38 Porsche we were just looking at and this car here at the Volante 199 McLaren. That could be a fight developing very soon. So yeah, this is exactly what we want to see, and hopefully it can just continue on in the coming weeks including it at Donington Park, excuse me, in 1 week's time.
Well, let's see how that one all unfolds, because we've got such a busy schedule coming up for this championship. As you said, Donington next week. We've got Spa on the 4th of May. We've got Nürburgring as well. That's going to be amazing. And Mount Panorama, Bathurst. That'll be a spicy affair. I think the championship will be wrapped up at Misano. And believe it or not, I'm not a big fan of Silverstone. I just compared to the rest of the tracks, I find Silverstone it's a bit bland.
I can tell you're not English. Cause,
I see. Oh, just straight in there.
Obviously, I'm joking. But no, I know it's not a favourite of everybody. I'm certainly you're certainly right about that. And you're certainly not in a minority, I wouldn't say. Well, you might be in a minority, but it's not a small minority, if you see what I mean. So yeah, there we are. But yeah, it's it's one of those kind of flat airfield circuits, isn't it? Really, with no elevation change really to spice things up a little bit. That often make because if you think about it, the circuits that people often enjoy, the classic ones that people often enjoy, have a lot of elevation, like Spa, Suzuka, etc. But most popular ones tend to be between people. Silverstone doesn't really have any of that, but the British bias over on this island anyway does inflate that a little bit, I think.
I think Brands Hatch. I would take Brands Hatch over Silverstone any day. But if we're talking about ultimate tracks, and yes, I can see you in Twitch begging about Nürburgring Nordschleife. It's never going to happen. That's just straight up will not happen. However, could you imagine Cadwell Park? That would be amazing. Cadwell Park in Assetto Corsa Competizione. That would just be chaos. That would be like, and just introduce it for like the Assetto Corsa Competizione equivalent of week 13 is like a giant stress reliever, and make it 100-player lobbies.
I think it would be, it would be fun. I know that there's not a lot of space at Cadwell in the pit lane, so it might be a bit of a cram there. But once you get out there on the circuit, it'd be good fun. And Cadwell's a nice circuit to race at. It's not in any games at all, or many sims at all, unfortunately. But that would be fun. I guess it's unlikely to happen, but you never know. You can never write it off. By the way, while we've been chattering on about that, Varniolo in the 23 McLaren there just had to serve a drive-through penalty a couple of minutes ago. Wondering if that was maybe for track cuts or something, or whether something else has been enforced there.
Yeah, you've got to think that's been automatically applied from the game for track limits there. Certainly we've not had any warning or any word of any penalties getting applied there, so that's a great spot there. I was too busy blethering away to even notice that there. But what I have noticed though is that Nikolai isn't being caught by Voitna, in fact Max Voitna, anywhere near as much as we thought now, and neither is Luke Whitehead. Luke Whitehead not able to really in these final 20 minutes make any big inroads, with 3 seconds between him and Voitna. I think Voitna might be okay with that third position, but certainly I think Nikolai might be okay with second.
Yeah, I think those top three or four positions, top 5 really, are very settled at this stage. Although that Audi is running fairly strongly at the moment, we could see there's a chance of a very late battle for 5th, but I find it unlikely. Those positions do look very settled. The one for 8th certainly doesn't at this stage in the race. We've got the 38 catching Rodriguez quite quickly in this race, and Dvorak, excuse me, of the 70 Porsche there, just in behind, 3 seconds behind. Once those two in front start battling, if they do, then he could very much be in the picture as well. So could well be seeing battles in there. But in terms of the top 5 positions, it's staying close, but not closing enough for any on-track battling just yet as we go inside the final 20 minutes.
What 20 minutes is going to be, it really is. Angus Fender, just looking at that time now, that's got to be pace management right now. He's keeping that gap at 10 seconds ahead of Nikolai there in second place. Max Voitna in third for that Jardier community car. Luke Whitehead, your championship leaders for the Gas Heat GTWR in 4th position. Then it is Georgios Karakis in 4th position, and then it's the Audi in 6th. Martin Ulrich in 7th position in the Bentley, and then it's Noah Sully Vasquez Rodriguez in the 199 McLaren in 8th position, and then in 9th position is the number 38. That is, of course, the TJ Porca machine of Justus Sulanakis in behind the wheel of that one, and then the number 70 car is the Riser Esports machine of Wojtek Dvorak in that P10. So top 10, with the exception of maybe 8th and 9th, this battle here that we see, as Sulanakis tried to make a move on Noah Sully Vasquez Rodriguez there. Every other battle kind of separated by at least 3-4 seconds now here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting a little bit more spaced out at this stage, but it's expected when we're over an hour into this one now. It's hardly a surprise, but there are still things to be looking at, like this battle for 8th place right now. Seeing if Rodriguez can just hold on to that place. It was a top 5 for them last time out, of course, at Monza, but Onico was doing a really good job running inside the top 5 again, not too far behind Whitehead indeed, but or Boothby as it was at the time. But really dropped back now. Something must have happened during the pit stop phase there to them, because they're a lot further back than they were, and even coming under pressure for this 8th position now. But with by a couple of Porsches, you see the other one in the background there.
Certainly can. 17 minutes left to go here, Ewan. I think we're safe, barring any issues with black traffic or any other horrible things happening. Fender, I mean, it's his race to lose right now. But do we think that the 2nd, 3rd and 4th is safe where it is right now, given that the gaps are going up? Or do we think there's maybe going to be a change in that order?
Yeah, I do think that those battles and those gaps are going to stay the same in that battle for 2nd. Really, I think they've been out there for half an hour now, trading lap times very nearly. And if they would have, if they could have made any inroads, then they would have done by now. And the fact that they haven't means that they might not really be able to, either Voigtner or Whitehead. So it looks like those top positions are staying the same. Oh, it's off the road for Rodriguez. Straight through for one of the Porsches. Where's the other one? About to appear left-hand side of shot. And yeah, we've got a battle all of a sudden for 9th as well. Rodriguez drops 2 places due to that one mistake by the looks of things. One trip through the gravel and he's dropped down far here. Dvorak goes through on the inside at 11 and 12.
Oh, that's a difficult pill to swallow on that one. Purely because I've made that mistake so many times at this track here. At the S's, you miss your braking point and you're going to understeer off onto that right-hand side. That's exactly what happens with the McLaren here. And that means now that the 38 car gets to move up the TJ Porca machine of Justus Sulanakis up into that 8th position. And I bet the air inside the 199 car of Noah Sully Vasquez Rodriguez is going to be matching that car. It's going to be a little bit blue right now.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be not pleased. And by the way, he was getting caught before that mistake. I find it difficult to see him getting back through again. But if he wants to, he's going to have to make it work as quickly as possible. Wasn't able to do it into turn 2 there with Rodriguez, so it might be over for him here. And the 2 Porsche drivers will be very glad that their overtake was made very easy there. Half of racing really is just staying on the road, is it? And you won't give away easy positions like that. Unfortunately, Rodriguez making a similar mistake to what we've seen earlier on. That McLaren, not the most stable of cars, I wouldn't have said, not in my experience anyway, can have a tendency to let the rear end go on occasion, and it's let him down a little bit there into these 2 corners last lap.
Awesome stuff. And as you said, 15 minutes left to go in this race. We were talking a lot before as well, Ewan, about what we expected from this race, and I'm not going to take the credit for the 89 being in front. I thought they were going to take pole, but I didn't expect them to just romp away with the victory here. Do you think that sets the standard for the championship?
Well, it was sort of, I suppose, because we saw this last week, not in terms of running away, but eventually Yassi GTWR with Boothby and Whitehead took a very convincing victory by nearly 10 seconds in the end. That was after taking a pole position for them. So are we going to continue to see that heading into Donington Park? We might well do. see lights to flag victories. Obviously, it wasn't quite lights to flag for the guys last week, but this week, once they got away, it was very easy for them because of the battles behind. And even this week, there wasn't really any battles behind. Because if you look at the 31 cars race, they have been pretty far ahead of third and fourth in their battle for quite a long time in this race. And so they had free rein and clean air to try and catch up to Fender and Schill, but they just weren't able to. So I think this does set a bit of a tone for the rest of this season, and we're going to start to view pole position as very, very important as we head into the future weeks.
And those future weeks, as we discussed, over several locations, Donington, Spa, Nürburgring, Mount Panorama, Misano and Silverstone. I think that's it's a good even balance, I think, for the cars. And I don't think one brand is particularly, maybe unlike previous seasons with the different balance of performances, one car isn't really going to be favoured, I think, as much as the other. Certainly, again, you've been commentating on ACC for quite some time now, but that for me, that 1.8 update changed so much about this game. It really just equalised the entire field, and I think that we've had probably, across all the different championships, some of the most fair and balanced racing now that we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, people always complain about the balance of performance, but for my money, it's always been pretty good. The racing has always been very close around most circuits. Very rarely have we seen runaway victory. I mean, the McLarens up front of the field last week was kind of the most obvious kind of one-car advantage that I've seen for a good while. Obviously, Aston Martin's in the rain at Spa about a year ago. I think you were on that race as well, David. A long 24-hour race, no less. That was quite a dominant display from one manufacturer as well. But for my money, it's always been pretty good on ACC. Everybody always complains about it because their favourite car hasn't quite got as favourable balance of performance this time around, or somebody's complaining about somebody else's car being very strong this time around. But it evens itself out, and that's the idea, that it's supposed to even itself out over the course of time. And I think they've done a pretty good job all in all with the balance of performance. It's never been a huge problem for my money in ACC.
Yeah, well spoken, and some wise words is what I was trying to say. And obviously it's getting very late at night. My poor old brain is almost switching itself off. But 11.5 minutes left to go. Angus Fender for BS+ Competition, still 10 seconds to the good of the number 31 outfit. And that is the West Competition Racing Machine in second place. We're currently watching a battle here. Craig Hamilton in the Ferrari onto the back of the 23 Cos Esports machine, and that is currently in the 23. That is currently Federico Varignolo behind the wheel of that one, and I wasn't frantically looking to my notes for the driver name of the car in front as well, because being Scottish, Ewan, I do, you might have noticed this, I do have a tendency to butcher some of these poor drivers' names, but thankfully when I've got it all written out, as the wonderful guys behind the scenes at GT Omega have done, given us all the drivers and team names beforehand, I can switch to just one of my 15,000 monitors that I've got here and have a look at the entry list. So a huge thank you to them for that. But I mean, again, just going back to that point that we spoke about right at the start of the show, looking down this list, the names on this entry list for this season of the GT Omega Challenger Cup, and given the other championships that are happening on a Wednesday night, I'm very, very impressed that they've pulled so many big names here.
Yeah, we have got some very big names here, and it's good to see that as we see Varignolo going a little bit wide there and getting overtaken here. Fairly easy. Well, I say that side by side, a bit of contact even between the two of them. Bierhoff's here now as well. Oh, excuse me, that's the battle for fifth roaring on past. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's great to see all of the numbers here and the talent here, especially considering it's a midweek championship, which is never favourable for pulling in huge numbers. But it's good to see the kind of talent we've got on screen right now and up and down the field. Here it is. Caracas tried to defend from the lone Audi. going around the outside of turn 2. Always going to be difficult for Michel there, and he stays behind just for the moment. And yeah, this battle for 5th is going to continue on. This Audi really strong in the second half of this race. You remember them getting past the Bentley not so long ago, and now they're 10 seconds behind.
Yeah, that feels like it was only about 5 minutes ago that they did that, and they are absolutely on a charge right now. Just on the Twitch chat here, Ewan, Brexit thinks that it's a bit shocking that there's 5 McLarens and no Lamborghinis, and I don't find that surprising at all. I mean, why would you hate yourself that much that you're going to choose a Lambo over a McLaren? Surely the McLaren is the faster, more stable package, and the Lambo is for those investing in Bitcoin.
Well, I don't know, but there must be a reason why that is the case, because obviously otherwise they wouldn't have done it. So yeah, I mean, there must be a reason for it, and it seems to be pretty. Yeah, it seems to be pretty strong at the moment. 4th and 5th for the McLarens right now, and still with 3 inside the top 10. So yeah, they're doing all right, and it's unfortunately it's not as big surprise to see quite a lot of manufacturers missing out on the grid this season.
Sorry, I burst out in laughter there because Brexit he's absolutely infuriated now. He's wanting to hunt me down and throw hands. It's yeah, it is what it is. Unfortunately, again, and this is the thing, from speaking to the maybe not the GT3 version, but certainly speaking to Lambo owners in real life, they've said that it's beautiful to look at as well, but it's an absolute pig of a car to drive there. So obviously some work needing done on the logistics of how that car handles. But I do agree, the NSX is a car that I would love to see getting bumped right back up, and even the good old Lexus. I mean, it feels like it was only about 6 months ago where the Lexus was dominant because it was just ridiculous in a straight line, and then 1.8 came along and Lexus just sort of died a death almost overnight here.
Yeah, absolutely. It hasn't had much of a run out here in Europe, and the Honda NSX really hasn't had much of a run out here in Europe either, unfortunately. So I would have liked to have seen one of those as well, but unfortunately that is not with us on this grid either, on this in this championship. So yeah, as I say, plenty of manufacturers have unfortunately missed out, but we do have a good variety out here, 2 of which on screen right now, and the Audi looking very good. The latest Evo version, right round the outside through 13, is going to be a fairly long way. Carreras is going to just hold him back at the moment. We saw some fantastic racecraft from him last week at Monza. He was one of the 3 leaders in the first half of that Monza race. He started the car and he was in a fierce battle with Angus Fender at the time, and George Boopy as well. At this time having to hold back the the Audi at this stage, and doing a decent job of it at the moment.
It certainly is, and Caracas looking one way, then another, has to brake nice and early to avoid contact with the car in front, and yeah, it's not happening. Michel trying to get his way past that Audi, but yeah, I can't see it. I can't see it, especially with 5.5 minutes to go. It might happen, but what I think is more likely is these two coming into contact with each other, because it's getting a little bit more sketchy for my liking. Just on the topic of cars that we don't see anymore, do we remember there was a Jag in this game?
Oh yes.
Nobody takes the Jag anymore. I mean, that thing is like a
relic.
It is. It's a relic. It's like a warship. It's like one of those proper old Jags that you used to see on the road there, and just completely unloved. It's yeah, nobody goes anywhere near it. So I think we need to do like one make series and just bring back all these awful old cars that nobody likes anymore. And say that they're not awful. They're just unloved. They're just, I think,
not as good. They're not awful. They're just not as good as the modern ones. Because as you're seeing with the Audi on screen at the moment, they're always developing, of course, and always getting a little bit better. But yeah, it would be nice to see a series with some of the older, less loved cars in ACC somewhere around. Hopefully that will happen at some point. But yeah, didn't the Jaguar do very well in the Spa 24 one year? I swear it was leading at some point when the darkness fell. Or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But it did well one time, and yeah, unfortunately we don't see it very often anymore. But yeah, it's all part of the variety you get with ACC. Plenty of cars, despite the fact that they only basically have GT3 and GT4. You know, not big span of cars. They've got pretty much every manufacturer within that, which is absolutely fantastic and very well made as well. These all these cars. So yeah, enjoying watching this at the moment. Enjoying watching this race and series on ACC. It's doing very well at the moment, as I see. It's doing very well.
It certainly is, but it could do better, and I think one of those ways that it could improve is by adding like proper cars, proper, you know, big boys cars, proper real race cars like a Dacia Logan. That's what we need. Forget your GT3, forget your GT4. We need the blinking Dacia Logan into the sim. I think that would make it, you know, Game of the Year 2022 without a shadow of a doubt. Unfortunately, we've got to try and bring it down a notch because apparently there's a real race going on here. So let's bring you back up to speed on this. We're currently watching the battle for 14th and 15th position. That is the number 26 Ferrari that is behind, and the 26 doing a grand job of Team Kamikaze there. Craig Hamilton behind the wheel of that. Is he going to make Kamikaze move? No, he's way too far back to even think about that on Federico Varignoli for Cause Esports, but it's not going to happen. 3 minutes left to go in this race, and it's looking like this is certainly the quieter of the two nights that we've had. Obviously at Monza, where it was just like, you know, crash a minute from all the chaos that was going on. This has been a much more sedate and a much more gentle affair, but there is still potential in these final 2.5 minutes. We could have you know, some action kicking off as a Ferrari thinks about it, but more often than not ends up just costing themselves some more time here. So your thoughts then, Ewan, looking back over the past hour and a half?
Well, yeah, it's been a very good race. Obviously, quieting down a little bit in the final half an hour, but that's to be expected after the amount of racing we've had here. However, there are still 3 opportunities, I believe, anyway, for positions to change. This is one of them. In the battle for 5th, obviously got that battle for 14th and the battle for 16th as well. It could well change in these final 2 minutes. But yeah, it's been a very, very good day and a very dominant drive from the 89 BS competition team. Really laying down a marker in this championship here. They're going to take the championship lead over the Yasheed GTWR guys. Yeah, looks like he's come around the final corner now as Angus Fender to begin his final lap of this race.
There we go then, with just 1.5 minutes left to go. Fender making his way round, and so does Jorsen in the 99. He's crossed the line as well. So your race leader, as you said there, just making his way across the line to start that final lap here. We see Angus Fender just making his way through the first couple of corners, then down into to barbecue, and well, what a drive it's been for the BMWs, Ewan. I mean, they've really not had too much to worry about. Maybe the first 5-10 minutes, they maybe thought they'd have some pressure from the likes of, say, the 72 when Felix Diepers was trying to make it a BMW 123. Could you imagine if we had that, by the way? But that wasn't to be. And then, you know, it's just been a fantastic effort. And not just that, from Nikolai as well. We thought he was going to come under pressure from the likes of Max Voigtner, but that never emerged. And then Luke Whitehead and George Boothby, our championship leaders, not able to make any inroads into that Porsche whatsoever in the second half of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are a little bit surprises, really. But Nikolai has held on well. It's very good value for his second place. Solid positions once again for Voigtner and Whitehead. Caracas as well, getting a top 5 if he can hold on in this final lap. So, yeah, some very good performances up towards the front here. And a very good day for BMW as Angus Fender comes towards the final corner.
Round to Ingwe then for the final time. It's been a lights to flag finish for the BS competition team. Angus Fender coming across the line to win with his teammate Gregor Schill, qualifying on pole, takes the race win. Fantastic effort there. We go back to this battle for 5th place then. This is heating up nicely. The Audi's going to try and send it round the outside. There's contact. That was such a shame. And the Audi does the right thing, lets the McLaren resume its place. And I like seeing that. As much as you hate seeing contact, I like when you see the car behind going, yeah, mate, you just get going and we'll carry that on. Unfortunate that it happens on the last lap because obviously they can't then resume that fight. But that is great sportsmanship. Craig Hamilton has fallen off of a cliff here. He was trying to get past the 14 there, the 23 of Federico Varnioli, but it is not happening. Craig Hamilton will cross the line in 15th position. So that is your top three. Fender, Nikolai and Voitna. Luke Whitehead in 4th, and then Caracas in 5th, Michelle in 6th, Martin Ulrich in 7th, Solankas in 8th, Vorak in 9th, and Solly Vasquez Rodriguez in 10th position. What a race, Ewan.
Yeah, what a race. It's a fantastic race for the second week in a row, but no denying who took the victory there. The 89 team of BS Competition were very strong, and they're undefeated here at Kyalami. Almost pretty much led every single lap there. Fair play to them for that one. But a great race, lots of battles going on up and down the field, thoroughly enjoyable, and it's continuing on really from what we've seen so far last week.
Oh, I like that. We get some graphics. Angus Fender there and Gregor Schill, obviously. We don't have a picture just yet of Angus. He looks resplendent, by the way, in his new photo for the Century Motorsport. Victor Nikolai in second place there, and Max Voitna and Valentin Barrier for Jardier Community in third position. Well, we give them a chance to get themselves into the waiting room, but we have our winners waiting to come and have a chat with us. So we'll bring them up into the interview booth, and we'll have a chat with them in a second, June. But what's your thoughts on that race there?
Yeah, very enjoyable. As we said a little bit earlier on, it was a very enjoyable race, a very good race, especially for BS Competition. For them to be able to run away with that victory, really, it'd be interesting to see how this develops now. How are they going to carry that forward into the next few races? Because obviously strong at Monza, but a little bit unlucky, and fought well for that second position. Some of those who were around them last time, not particularly around them this time, and were maybe not where they were hoping to be, a little bit further down the order. So it's going to be interesting to see how it develops, really. Donington Park, obviously, is a really different challenge to what we saw here tonight. So who knows how it's going to develop?
Well, one way of finding out what is going to happen is by having a chat to the people involved, and the people involved would be Angus Fender and Gregor Schill with that lights to flag victory. Congratulations, guys! That was quite the effort tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I really have to say I enjoyed the race a lot. It was like, I knew the car had some decent pace on this track, but it wasn't really obvious for myself like where we would stand, because I jumped on today on the car here at Kyalami, because in the background we of course prepare for the upcoming SRO series, which starts on Saturday, the endurance series. So I didn't really know where we stand in terms of pace, but I was really happy that I could position the car on pole. I think there was like maybe another 10th or so left, but was really happy to bring the lap together. And then from the race, I knew like that if I win the start, so to say, against the Porsche, there's nothing, that could beat me. I just could, crash on my own, and that would be it. But I knew that I had the pace to pull the gap. And yeah, at the end, it worked quite well out in my stint.
So, Angus, we'll come to you in just a second because we've got loads to talk about with your announcement today. But, Gregor, firstly, I have to apologise to you for last night for some of the moves that I pulled in that little Wreckfest session last night. There was a little bit of bumping and grinding going on. But, looking at this race tonight, you obviously got the pole position. You set the fastest lap in practice. The car, feeling very comfortable, was very, very solid. Now, the first couple of minutes, you must have felt under pressure, but at what point did you feel comfortable that you were just consistently stretching that gap?
Yeah, to be honest, it was the first 3 laps. If you are on P1, they are quite important, because you always check the gap to the cars behind if you actually have a pace advantage to them, and if that's not the case, your race is completely different because you'll start to look more in the mirrors, you know. But after the first 3 laps, I saw that I actually am able to pull away in most of the corners, and I just need to basically get into my zone and just, you know, pull the laps together, stay consistent. And at the end, it worked quite well out. I think my entire stint was like 3 temps between or 4 temps between the fastest and the slowest lap. So, I mean, that shows you just how important consistency is. It doesn't matter if you have one quick lap in your stint, it's just important to replicate that over and over the entire stint. So, I just was a really good, you know, way then for Angus to just continue the second part of the race because he knew he had no pressure. He could just basically enjoy the ride with the car and, you know, bring it home.
Well, a thoroughly impressive level of consistency there, Gregor. But moving on to Angus, firstly, we have to say congratulations on the announcement today. Driving GT3 car in real life for Century Motorsport. That was quite an awesome announcement today.
Oh my god, you're telling me. 2 days ago, I didn't know I was doing it, so it's a bit last minute. But yeah, obviously I've raced GT3 machinery before. I've raced GT3 BMW before, but after taking the year out that I did to focus on my degree, I never thought I'd be jumping straight back into the deep end that I am. And yeah, it's an incredible opportunity. I'm very thankful for everyone that supported me along the way. It's yeah, I couldn't really have imagined it happening, but I tell you what, I'm obviously going to grab with both hands and try and do the best job that I can. It's a weird crossover being an esports driver for BMW and now being able to front up representing their brand in real life as well. So I guess it kind of completes the circle, and I'm definitely looking forward to giving it a go this weekend.
And as you said, no stranger to real life GT3 machinery, but did today's announcement, did it make it a little bit difficult for you to concentrate tonight, or was it fairly straightforward and just back to what you're used to?
I was planning to do more practice than I ended up doing. I did 20, 30 laps 2-3 days ago. I made like a rough setup that I thought, this one's okay. As in, I can drive it and I can do fairly good times with it. And I thought I'd have the time extra to put in the time and tune it and refine it. Turned out that yesterday morning happened, and since then my world got turned a bit upside down for the next couple of days. So I haven't really had a moment free. So I kind of just rock up tonight. Gregor's like, Angus, we got a setup. I think, yeah, but it's probably not very good. So I kind of have to just wing it last minute and see how we go in the practice sessions. But I mean, Gregor's an absolute animal. His first stint was ridiculously good. I mean, apart from 1 lap or 2 or 3 laps, I think all his times were within 3/10, which you just don't see. So absolute animal, this guy, and he made my job incredibly easy. So I guess that took most of the pressure off me.
Obviously, a big turnaround from last week at Monza. Looking through the rest of the schedule, Angus, we've got Donington, Spa, Nürburgring, all the rest of them. Is there any tracks that you think the BMW is really going to be able to get its teeth into? And are you worried about, given that it's, maybe 2 months away, any potential BOP changes before then?
Well, as far as tracks go that this car can sink its teeth into, I think this one wasn't a bad one. I think the top 2 results proves that. But I mean, we put in the work, we got the result. We'll continue to do so for the remaining rounds. I trust the team I have around me and their expertise, no bounds, basically. So these guys are units, and they'll always turn out a very competitive racing machine. So I'm not scared of anyone. I'm not looking behind me constantly. I trust the car I end up driving in the race, and I'm just looking forward to giving it another go next week, to be honest with you. Donington's a track I love in real life and on the sim, and yeah, pretty damn excited to try and keep up this form next week.
Well, listen, Gregor, Schill, Angus Fender, it's an absolute pleasure to have you both on board. Congratulations on the race win tonight, and we will see you both next time out at Donington Park.
Thank you, guys. See you next week.
So there we go then, Gregor, Schill, and I'm very happy, it's safe to say there, you and Angus Fender. I mean, how awesome a week is that? You know, taking the win in a big Simracing championship, and also the same sort of day that you're announced as a team's GT3 driver. It's somewhat jealousy making, isn't it?
It's a very good couple of days for him, and it sounds like it was a little bit surprising as well, somewhat come out of the blue. So yeah, that's absolutely fair play to him for that one. and especially considering the amount of practice that he had by the sound of things. Obviously, these things don't always go to plan, and you've got to kind of adapt to whatever preparation you've been able to do, and they were able to do that the best here today. So, yeah, fair play to both of them. They did a fantastic job, both Gregor and Angus there, and fully deserving of the victory. Really, nobody was able to touch them all day. And yeah, they'll be looking to take this momentum forward now to Donington in a week's time.
Well, they certainly will. That's where we're off to next week, Donington Park, for round 3 of this 8-round GT Omega Challengers Cup. A huge thank you to all of you at home for watching tonight. Huge thank you to Ewan O'Leary, join myself, Dave Christie, here in the commentary box tonight. Huge thank you to our commercial partners over at Simracing.GP and at Moza Racing as well. And of course, the guys behind the scenes at GT Omega Racing for making this stream happen and for bringing us on board. Join us next week then, where we continue the GT Omega Challengers Cup. Until then, have a safe week and we'll see you soon.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Show me what you got. Oh,
Is that everything you got?
last turn.
Catch me if you can.
That was great.
That was a good game.
Unlock true experience with GT Omega.
Unleash the racer in you and feel the thrill of racing all out on the open road.